CBS Sports welcomes you live to Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. NASDAQ college football continues with a huge battle in the Southeastern Conference between number 7 Florida at 5-1, coming off a loss last week at LSU, and number 6 Auburn with a perfect record of 6-0. Auburn trying to avenge last year's pummeling at the hands of the Gators in Gainesville, 51-10. Florida won the toss and deferred. Auburn elected to receive in the first half, so Robbie Stevenson will kick off to Auburn's Markeith Cooper. Cooper back in action. He's been dinged up the last 4 games with a shoulder injury. They've been holding him out with the eye toward returning for this big game today. Stevenson with a good kick from 5 yards deep in the end zone. Cooper clothesline shy of the 10. He hesitated and then made a terrible decision to bring it out. Nick Shirali made the tackle on special teams for the Gators.
Sean, as you mentioned, the hesitation is what caused the problem. Markeith Cooper, he waited a minute, then he decided to take it up inside. The interesting thing is I've watched Steve Spurrier for 2 years now. I've never seen him defer on a coin toss. It's the first time that I've seen him say, I don't want the ball offensively, I want my defense to play.
The offense was shaky last week against LSU. The defense has been a consistent strength of the Gators this year. Damian Craig hands off to Rusty Williams on first down for the 9. And there's no gain on the play as Johnny Rutledge made the tackle for Florida. Damian Craig coming off a solid week last week against Louisiana Tech, although he was upset about the 3 interceptions against the Bulldogs. The senior from Pritchard, Alabama, had one of the worst games of his career in that blowout loss in Gainesville last year. Big day today, and Craig could move near the top of the Heisman Trophy race. From the 10-yard line, back on the ground with Williams. He has struggled to get it going this season, and that's true through 2 carries today. Tico Brown up from the secondary to make the tackle on the sophomore Williams. Williams and Fred Beasley in the backfield. Kevin McLeod, a converted fullback now at tight end. Outstanding receivers Tyrone Goodson and Karsten Bailey. Rodney Allison, the offensive coordinator, told us yesterday the strength of the offense has been this offensive line with Victor Riley, the right tackle, the anchor. He's an All-American candidate at 6'5", 313 pounds. Miami and Boston College heading for overtime in Chestnut Hill. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. Out of the shotgun now. Auburn spreads the field. Inside handoff to Cooper, and he gets nothing. Johnny Rutledge and Mike Moten leading the defense for Florida. So the kickoff return put Auburn in a hole from which it could not escape.
The bad field position did not allow Terry Bowden to come out and play the kind of offense that he wanted to. He wanted to come out, spread the field, start throwing the ball immediately, and loosen up the Florida defense. But because they were backed up, they had to play very conservative. They didn't want to make a mistake with the ball in this area of the field.
Jared Holmes, the punter. Jaquez Green fielded it on a bounce at his own 47, and he's tackled at the 43-yard line of Auburn by Brent Turner. Outstanding field position with which to begin for the Gators. A new starting quarterback this week for Florida, Doug Johnson, who had been the starter this season, suspended for this game as a result of a curfew violation last week. So the true freshman, Jesse Palmer from Nepean, Ontario, makes his first start. He has appeared in 4 games in relief. Deafening noise as Palmer moves under center for the first time as a starter. Simple play to get him started, but flags are thrown before the snap, and it looked like Ryan Kalick, the left guard, started early for Steve Spurrier's offense.
Well, it's interesting. I think Steve Spurrier so far loves the way this game has gone. Other than this penalty, he loves the fact that his defense got him great field position for his freshman quarterback. All of a sudden, they're out at the 45-yard line with the ball on the first possession. That helps the quarterback be relaxed. He's got advantageous field position.
It's what Spurrier undoubtedly had in mind when he deferred after winning the toss. First and 15. No score, just underway. 2.5 minutes played. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue and Michelle Tafoya. Taylor the carry. Martavius Houston made the stop at the 45-yard line. A gain of 3. The numbers for Palmer in his limited action, very impressive in that he's thrown 3 touchdown passes without an interception. Much of his action in the games against Central Michigan, a game in which he went 4 for 4, and against Arkansas in a blowout win, he was 5 out of 10, but threw 2 touchdowns.
Looks like he's checking off to a quick pass.
Palmer on 2nd and 12. His first pass on target to Jamie Richardson. Some fancy footwork and a first down for Florida. Down to the 30-yard line. Brad Ware made the tackle for Auburn. The gain of 14. The Florida offense. Taylor and Rod Frazier in the backfield. A new starting tight end, Dwight Edge, who began the season as 3rd string. Jacquez Green and Jamie Richardson, the wideouts. Also a change in the front line. Zach Zedalis moves in at right guard as the starter, joining Collins, Rich, Kalick, and Carlisle. Carlisle playing for the injured Zach Pillar, out with a hamstring injury. On 1st and 10. On a blitz come the Tigers. The pass caught by Taylor with running room. Fred Taylor breaking tackles, and he's down at the 7-yard line. Gain of 23. The right defensive end, Leonardo Carson, way downfield to make the tackle.
The Auburn defense came in today saying whatever they did, they wanted to make sure they tackled well. After the reception, they knew Jesse Palmer was going to hit some passes, but after the reception, make sure they tackle well. The last 2 plays, the pass receiver has turned into a runner, gaining positive yardage after the catch. Auburn can't let that happen.
1st and goal, again, movement. The Florida offense had some trouble with the deafening noise last weekend in Baton Rouge, and they're struggling.
With a dead ball. False start on the offense.
With the roar again here this afternoon.
John, it was Ryan Kalick, the left guard again. That's 2 illegal procedure penalties on him, and he's standing right next to the center. You can imagine how hard it is for the left tackle or the tight end, who are further removed from the quarterback, to hear the snap count.
You mentioned the tackling. Bill Oliver, the defensive coordinator for Auburn, told us yesterday that last week in the win over Louisiana Tech, his team was the worst tackling team in the United States. He says Florida is the best at run after catch. Jacquez Green throws, touchdown! Jamie Richardson taking the pass from the former option quarterback in high school, Jacquez Green, and the Gators open impressively with the new quarterback at the helm.
Florida just ran the reverse with Jacquez Green. The Auburn defense knows he's a dangerous reverse runner. But then Steve Spurrier pulled a little trick out of his special playbook. He threw the reverse pass to Jamie Richardson for the touchdown.
Collins Cooper adds the extra point. 12-yard touchdown pass. Jacquez Green to Jamie Richardson.
Jacquez Green did a great job of acting. He made it look like a reverse the whole way, and he's not bad. He's got a good little motion there for a wide receiver. Jamie Richardson on a little post corner. The Auburn defense just drew up on the reverse play. today, Craig.
Back in Auburn, Alabama, Jamie Richardson with the touchdown reception. His 6th of the year, capping a typically short Florida scoring drive of just 1 minute and 41 seconds. And Coach Terry Bowden couldn't have dreamed up a much worse start for his squad. Robbie Stevenson kicks off with a breeze for the 2nd time to Markeith Cooper. His poor decision on the opening kickoff put Auburn in a big hole. Another good kick by Stevenson. And this time Cooper takes a knee.
What happened on the touchdown pass, Jamie Richardson is going to run down and then out, and the 2 defensive backs, Ware and Casher, are going to come up on the reverse play and play the reverse all the way by Jaquez Green. Remember, Jaquez Green was a Veer High School quarterback, so this isn't the first pass he's ever had in his athletic career. A great throw.
Throw it, says Steve Spurrier. He did, and it was a touchdown. Miami and Boston College each scored in overtime, so they head for a 2nd overtime in Chestnut Hill. Damian Craig out of the shotgun, throws, and it is caught for a 1st down. Karsten Bailey shakes his way out to the 36-yard line. Tackled there by Elijah Williams, and that's a one-on-one battle the Auburn coaches think they can take advantage of today. The Florida defense without Ed Chester out with a knee injury. Tim Beauchamp also did not make the trip, or 1-game suspension for academics, so there is the front 4. Johnny Rutledge, Dwayne Thomas, and Mike Peterson are the linebackers. Rutledge is a semifinalist, 1 of 10 nationally for the Butkus Award, which goes to the nation's best linebacker.
Auburn has better field position here, Sean, so consequently they come out in their spread formation trying to thin out that Florida defense.
George coming on a blitz, and it's Javon Curse with the sack, the first of the game for Florida. Craig thrown down back inside the 30. Let's get an update on the Miami BC game from Jim Nance.
Right on 7 yards. 2nd and 17 at the 29.
Thank you, Jim. Javon Curse with another sack. He has 4.5 for the season. That's a team high for the sophomore from Fort Myers. Loss of 7 on that play. Nearly 5 minutes gone by, 1st quarter. Florida leads 7-0. Then George came on a blitz. This time the ball's knocked free. And it looks like Florida has recovered. The Gators have. John Exnitis came on the blitz and knocked it free, and Reggie McGrew recovered the fumble.
John Exnitis, the strong safety, is going to come from the boundary, and the quarterback, Damian Craig, just doesn't see him. His eyes are to the field. He never sees him from the blind side. Consequently, the ball gets knocked loose.
On 1st down from inside the 25, Taylor running hard. And he stopped at the 18-yard line by Martavius Houston and Takeo Spikes. The Auburn defense, it's a front 3. Jimmy Brumbaugh, the best of the group. He's moved from nose guard to left end this year. Joined up front by Charles Dorsey and Leonardo Carson. One of the best linebackers in the country is Takeo Spikes. Auburn's leading tackler Ricky Neal is also an outstanding player. And in the secondary, Larry Casher, a true freshman, makes his first start, but we'll see a lot of Brad Ware as they'll play a lot of nickel defense today. Taylor puts his head down and goes to the 16. A little bit shy of the 1st down.
In talking with the Auburn coaches yesterday, particularly Bill Oliver, the defensive coordinator at Auburn, he said, you know, we have such a young defensive team. It's important we get off to a good start, but if we don't, we've just got to hang in there and keep playing and get our confidence, because the longer it goes, the better we'll play.
BC scored in overtime number 2 at Chestnut Hill. 3rd down and short. They stick with Taylor, and he stops short of the 1st down. Leonardo Carson tripped him up behind the line of scrimmage. And it's decision time for Steve Spurrier. It'll be 4th down and about 2, or it could be a field goal try. It appears they'll go for it.
Zach Pillar, the starting left tackle for the Florida Gators, is out of the game, and Cooper Carlisle, his backup, is in there. It's a great defensive penetration into Keel Spites and Leonardo Carson are the two men that made that play.
On 4th down, Taylor has the first down. A tough run by Fred Taylor, the senior from Belglade, Florida. And he's down to the 10 with a first down, tackled by Jimmy Brumbaugh.
Steve Spurrier has an awful lot of confidence in his offensive team. He likes to get into the scoring zone and go for touchdowns. He doesn't like field goals. He gives the ball to his best football player right now that can carry it on a consistent basis, Fred Taylor. He gets his pads down and drives to that young Auburn defense for the first down.
Draw to Taylor. He managed to make it into a game when it looked like he'll be stopped at the line of scrimmage. Ricky Neal made the tackle. Taylor might be inspired by comments Coach Spurrier made after the loss last weekend at LSU. Coach Spurrier said, well, you can take Fred Taylor out of the Heisman Trophy race. He doesn't block well enough to be considered a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Well, and most of the time when you say something publicly about an athlete, they're going to respond. They're going to try to come back and make you look bad for your statement. And Fred Taylor is one of the best players in the Southeastern Conference. He is a strong, tough, hard-nosed hombre.
And a smooth start for Jesse Palmer, the true freshman at quarterback. They're relying heavily on the run. Taylor straight ahead inside the 5, and he lunges down near the 2-yard line. Again, it was Ricky Neal making the tackle. It looks like Florida could pick up another first down just inches shy of the goal line.
And I think a lot of the trouble with Auburn so far has been the fact they had such poor field position. The first kickoff of the game put them with their backs to the wall. They couldn't really run the offense they wanted to run. Then the next series they get hit from the blind side, and all of a sudden Florida's had this real advantageous field position for their freshman quarterback.
The handoff to Taylor, and this time Marcus Washington knew it was coming. The sophomore from Auburn, Alabama, playing for his hometown university, drops the play for a loss back to the 5.
Marcus Washington playing the right defensive end. He's the one that gets the penetration. He comes upfield, hits Taylor in the backfield, makes a good tackle. Huge play for the Auburn defense.
He ran right by the new tight end, Dwight Edge, who started the season as the 3rd-string tight end. Collins Cooper, where he says he doesn't attempt many field goals. This is a 22-yard try. And it is good. Florida, historically very strong, bouncing back from rare defeats, off to a strong start today.
Coach.
NASDAQ College Football on CBS is sponsored by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers. The Document Company, Xerox. And by Visa. It's everywhere you want to be.
Missouri 17, Texas 16.
The undefeated Auburn Tigers down by 10 early. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue, delighted to have you with us from Auburn, Alabama. Very big game. Florida still alive for all of its goals, the national championship and the 5th straight SEC title. But realistically, they need a win today. As the standings show, they're still in control in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference. But Coach Spurrier thinks Tennessee is going to win out, meaning his team has to do the same. Well,
Florida's gotten off to such a positive start. When you're playing a new quarterback like they are with Jesse Palmer, although he's a freshman, he has had the advantage of spring practice. He knows the offensive system, but he's still awfully inexperienced. And they have had everything go their way thus far in the game.
Florida with the edge in the Eastern Division because it has a victory over Tennessee. And it's Markeith Cooper, and again, no opportunity to return the kickoff from Robbie Stevenson. 3rd time he's boomed it deep into the end zone. Similarly, Auburn is in control in the Western Division of the Southeastern Conference as the Tigers look for their first ever SEC Western Division crown. LSU now with 2 defeats. One of the defeats at the hands of Auburn, and the other stunning loss to Ole Miss today. LSU going down to defeat after its rousing win, one of the biggest in school history, against the Florida Gators last Saturday night. Damian Craig running for his life and running out of time. Third sack for Florida. Mike Peterson, the outside linebacker, dropped him back at the 16-yard line. Let's get another update on Miami and Boston College. Here's Jim.
Second and 14 at the 16.
Here it's second down and 14 for Auburn. Tough snap. Craig managed to field it. Fred Beasley, the fullback, hammered down at the 19-yard line. Reggie McGrew put a hit on Beasley.
John, what's happening right now is the Florida defense is just too aggressive and too quick for the Auburn offense. They are bringing linebackers and creating a situation where nobody gets to double up in the Auburn offensive line. Everybody is single blocking because one linebacker or another is coming, so you never get any double teams, and as a result, the pressure for Damian Craig has been extreme. He has nowhere to go, and Bob Stoops, the defensive coordinator of Florida, seen right there, is not going to let Damian Craig outside the tackle boxes today. He's going to try to keep him inside.
Here comes the blitz again. Nowhere to run for Craig. Mike Peterson with another sack. 4 sacks already for Florida. Meanwhile, Miami did kick the extra point. And here's Jim Nance. Terrific game indeed. An interesting decision by Coach O'Brien to go for the 2 after the go-ahead score. Bad punt by Jarrett Holmes. Jaquez Green for his own 49. And he's out of bounds on a flag thrown for an illegal block at the 41-yard line. 39-yard punt, 9-yard return, but it looks like Florida will be moved back after Sizemore is the referee.
Tyrone Baker, number 20 from Florida, came in from the right side of the screen.
It was a good block, and then he's still inbounds.
You'll see him come in from the right part of the screen. Number 20, Tyrone Baker. He's going to block here, and the question is he in the back or the side? And the official said it was in the side, so consequently, no foul.
A Duke-Air Stadium information booth is located on the east side concourse of the future ticket sales booth behind section 32. Also, if you have any questions regarding first aid, parking, or other stadium information, please consult this information location. Be sure to pick up your Auburn home football game tickets at the future sales window located behind section 32. The window will be open for 1 hour after the game today. Tickets are currently available for the Auburn Mississippi State game on November 1st.
Florida leads 10-0 late in the first quarter. As we mentioned earlier, historically, Florida has bounced back very well after a defeat in the regular season over the last 4 years. For each of the losses, they've bounced back with a win, sometimes in convincing fashion. They've been impressive so far with the true freshman Jesse Palmer at quarterback. He's been asked to do very little of a fancy nature. He throws a play-action pass, and that's a bullet to Jaquez Green. And he's down with the first down at the 23-yard line. Outstanding field position here in the first quarter for Florida.
Well, if anybody had any questions about Jesse Palmer's arm, they're going to have them answered on this play. Jaquez Green runs down the field and simply turns around to the inside about 15 yards deep. The ball is delivered perfectly on time for the reception.
5 receivers spread across the field. Palmer sending out signals to them on 1st and 10. Nafis Kareem the reception, and he's down to the 18-yard line. Kareem coming off a big game last week, 9 catches in the loss at LSU.
Boy, and Jesse Palmer did a great job. Auburn brought pressure on him that time, right in his face. It was unblocked, and he just had a quick release, got rid of the ball as fast as he could, and hit the receiver. Right now, this freshman, who has had spring practice, I reiterate, is sure playing awfully well for the Gators.
Gators go without a huddle. Same spread formation. Blitz again. Up for grabs and picked off. Brad Ware for Auburn. Taken down by Jaquez Green at midfield. For those of you just joining us, we welcome you to Auburn, Alabama. Florida had dominated the first quarter until that big mistake. The first mistake made by the true freshman quarterback Jesse Palmer, making his first collegiate start today. Brad Ware the interception and a 42-yard return to get Auburn into Florida territory for the first time.
And the pressure came from Takeo Spikes, number 55, the preseason All-American linebacker for Auburn, and also Jimmy Brumball. But Brad Ware, he was the man on the spot with a huge turnover for the Auburn Tigers.
And Florida had to call a timeout as Auburn came to the line of scrimmage. Jordan-Hare Stadium sold out as usual. More than 85,000 fans in one of college football's most raucous venues. They watched Florida take the early lead. Jaquez Green off a reverse through a 12-yard touchdown pass to Jamie Richardson. Then after Damian Craig fumbled, Collins Cooper a 22-yard field goal. Florida was deep in Auburn territory again, but the interception by Ware has Auburn 1st and 10 at midfield. Rusty Williams breaks through a hole, and he's down at the 42. That's a gain of 7, tripped up by Tony George. For those just joining us, the significance of this game, Florida now in a race in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference. Steve Spurrier believes his team needs to win all of its remaining conference games because he thinks Tennessee will win out as well. And in the Western Division, LSU with a huge defeat today at the hands of Ole Miss. So the situation isn't quite as urgent for Auburn. They have a game upcoming next weekend with the Arkansas Razorbacks in Fayetteville. Terry Bowden's team 6-0, ranked number 6 in the nation. And Steve Spurrier's team was number 1 in the nation and undefeated until a loss last Saturday at LSU. Ending their 25-game conference winning streak. That's 2 wins shy of the all-time SEC record held by Bear Bryant's great Alabama teams. Rusty Williams short of a first down at the 40-yard line. Mike Peterson made the tackle.
Moments ago, the big interception by the Auburn defense to Keo Spikes, the linebacker, number 55. He applies the pressure to the quarterback. Jesse Palmer didn't get the protection that he needed, but he threw off his back foot, and all of a sudden Brad Ware, right in the middle of the defense, comes up with the interception. Remember, the Auburn coaches said the longer the game goes defensively, the better we'll play. We'll get used to the tempo, and we're young. We just need time.
Short yardage personnel in the game for Auburn, but Damian Craig didn't like what he saw. The play clock was running out. Back for the final 53 seconds of the first quarter after this. Nothing. Florida has the lead over Auburn late in the first quarter. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue. Boy, Florida had everything going its way, Terry, until that big turnover. Well, the big turnover by the freshman quarterback, but Auburn's had such poor field position. Finally, they're in good field position, which allows them to run a little more of their offense. Craig lofts it up. It is caught. The tight end, Kevin McLeod. First down, Auburn at the 15-yard line. It's a play-action pass by Auburn. Kevin McLeod, the tight end, is going to run down, and the Florida defense is just so aggressive playing the run that all of the defenders bit on the run fake, and McLeod found that seam in the Florida defense. It's an excellent call by Terry Bowden. Quick drop by Craig going to the end zone. Incomplete. Through the outstretched hands of Tyrone Goodson. Elijah Williams had the coverage. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 15. You saw in the previous play, the short yardage play, Auburn had big number 73, Kendall Simmons, a true freshman offensive guard in the backfield. Tyrone Goodson is the second leading receiver at Auburn. He needs to come up with this catch. This is a great throw by Damian Craig. He had Elijah Williams beat. He just needs to come up with that play. Gators showing blitz again. Rutledge is coming. Over the middle. Caught. And it is a touchdown for Tyrone Dillard.
It's an aggressive defense. You want to run draws and screens. Watch the tight end. He runs a little middle screen. And Damian Craig did an unbelievable job in the face of that wake of Gators coming on. It's incredible.
The extra point good by Jared Holmes. Auburn right back in the ball game, down by 3 late in the first quarter. Tyrone Dillard with the touchdown reception off the middle screen. He's a senior from Riverdale, Georgia, and an unlikely candidate to put Auburn on the board for the first time. That's just his 7th career reception and his 2nd for a touchdown. It's just his 2nd catch of this season. 10-7. Jared Holmes kicks on for the first time. Bo Carroll and Elijah Williams deep. That hit one of the Florida upmen, and that's a free ball. Picked up by Williams. In trouble inside the 10. And down at the 14-yard line. It hit Buck Gurley's hand and went squibbing along the ground, and then the fire drill was on for the Gators.
Football's an amazing game. The first few minutes of the contest, everything goes Florida's way. Then all of a sudden, the momentum is shifted. Now everything is moving towards Auburn. The ball was just mishandled. Elijah Williams did a great job getting on it, getting it back upfield.
Ear-splitting noise. Final play of the quarter in all likelihood. Taylor bounces outside. First down, Florida. Out to the 26-yard line. What a wild first quarter it has been. The score, Florida 10, Auburn 7. We'll return to Jordan-Hare Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. Wild first quarter. Florida has the lead 10-7, but momentum clearly shifted to the Auburn side late in the quarter. And now the true freshman Jesse Palmer has truly been thrown into the fire. On 1st and 10, Taylor thrown for a loss to Keo Spikes and Jimmy Brumbaugh.
Keo Spikes, number 55, one of the semi-finalists for the Lombardi Award. He might be one of the very top linebackers in the country. He was protected by his defensive lineman. If you notice, no one got out on him, so consequently, he could just play the running back and help make the play.
Loss of 4. 2nd and 14. The Gators back at their own 23. Palmer throws over the middle, incomplete. Looking for Jamie Richardson. He was hit after he released the pass by Jimmy Brumbaugh.
Jamie Richardson, number 18, he's come alive in the Gator offense. He's actually open here, but Jesse Palmer just didn't get the ball on target. It's a little bit low and a little bit off the mark as a result of the pressure that Auburn applied.
He had to throw while backing up. That was a big problem for Doug Johnson last week at LSU as Johnson threw 4 interceptions. Third down and 14. Palmer dropped at the 25. Charles Dorsey, one of 14 Florida natives on the Auburn team, made the tackle.
Charles Dorsey, 91. He's the man. Remember, we said that the Florida offensive line has got to play better today than they did down at LSU a week ago. They've got to, particularly with a young quarterback, you've got to give him his rhythm and his timing or he gets upset.
Robbie Stevenson, the junior from Bradenton, to punt. To Marquise Cooper. Punting into the breeze. Fair catch called for and made by the man known as Lizard here in Auburn. 34-yard punt. CBS Sports coverage of NASDAQ college football will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Back here at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Michelle Tafoya along with you. And yesterday, Steve Spurrier told me that the Auburn game always piques Florida's interest, and the Auburn players always provide the best bulletin board material. He told me they said stuff this week like they were able to beat LSU on the final drive of their game, but we didn't. So I guess they think they're better than we are. And more after the play. Sean?
It's 1st and 10 for Auburn from its own 41-yard line. Tigers trail by 3. Play action fake by Craig. The pass deflected and it falls incomplete.
Sean, you know, those Gators have made a few statements of their own over the years. You know, they just using a little fire and a fuel there.
Once again, here's Michelle.
Yeah, well, Sean Spurrier is welcoming anything that would light a fire under his team. In fact, he traveled fewer players than usual. He said, some of those hang-around guys, if they don't cheer on the sidelines, we don't need them around. They weren't cheering for us last week at LSU, so they're not with us this week at Auburn.
What happens, Sean, after you lose a game like that, sometimes you circle the wagons. You want fewer guys on the sideline. You want a closer-knit team, so everybody that's on the trip is really focused and concentrating.
2nd and 10. A lot of time this time for Craig to throw, and he's throwing a home run ball up for grabs and knocked down by Tico Brown. Pass was intended for true freshman Clifton Robinson, another Florida native. Robinson is from Naples. Well, Coach Spurrier also blamed himself and the offensive coaching staff. He said during the week that he didn't feel the offensive coaches have been doing a very good job lately.
Well, they just had a lot of mistakes. When I say mistakes, they had penalties and interceptions down at LSU. And Steve got real frustrated with that. And the other thing that the Auburn coaches felt, that LSU did a great job of not giving up a big play. And so consequently, when they didn't give up big plays, the Florida team got impatient.
3rd down and 10 now. Just a 3-man rush. Craig swings it out. Bad throw. He had Fred Beasley open in the flat, but the ball was well ahead of him. And it's 3 plays and a punt for the Auburn Tigers.
That was an awfully good series for the Florida defense, and you've got to credit Bob Stoops, the defensive coordinator there. They came away. They only had, as you mentioned, a 3-man rush. They dropped 8, and there was just nowhere for Damian Craig to go with the ball. He tried to lay it off to the back, and the pass wasn't well thrown.
Jaquez Green, first in the SEC in punt return average this season at 14 yards per return. Awaiting the punt from Jared Holmes. It's a good punt with the wind. Green starts at the 16, and he's retreating. Flag thrown, and Green's down for a loss on the return back to the 11. 43-yard punt. Loss of 4 on the return. Ryan Taylor made the tackle with help from Terrence Crowder. And let's check out the flag.
It's going to be a block in the back against Florida. They had a clip on the play, blocking in the back. I'm sure of it. The Gator who clips comes in from the left side of the screen. Jaquez Green trying to set up. There's the clip right there. I think it was Art Link, number 38.
Oh,
they pick up the flag again. That's the 2nd time a flag has been thrown against Florida.
But there was no contact. It's going to be 1st down. TV timeout.
Well, there is no contact. You ask why the flag was thrown in the first place.
The judgment in question on the punt return is there contact? But a lot of coaches around the country act like there's not contact, but initiate some contact just to knock a tackler off stride. And in my judgment, that should have been a call right there against Florida.
Flag was picked up. It's 1st and 10 Gators. Palmer changed the play effectively as Taylor fought his way out to the 17. That's a gain of 5. What a scene this is. Florida for the 2nd straight week playing one of the loudest stadiums in college football. And these fans are standing room only on the ramps leading up to the upper deck. Second and 5. Opening moments of the 2nd quarter. Florida leads 10-7. Palmer with time throws a bullet. Dwight Edge, the tight end, with his first career reception, and he stopped short of a first down near the 20-yard line. So far, they've done a good job of protecting Jesse Palmer. That's a key today for Florida.
Well, it absolutely is. Last week, they did not protect him. Florida needs to make sure he's clean so he can get his rhythm. The front 5, along with the offensive backs, have got to be able to pick up the rushers. When they do, Florida will attack the Auburn defense with success. When they don't, the young quarterback will get shook up and not play as well.
You saw Martavius Houston on the sideline, apparently with a left shoulder injury. As a result, the Auburn defense did not have the proper personnel on the field, so the Tigers have used a timeout. 10-7. Florida has the lead. We'll return in a moment.
Chartered organizations, if you have not received a copy of the organization's contract for the 1998 Colorado, please call or come by the Colorado office in the basement of the Ford Union and pick one up today. If you haven't received your contract, don't forget to turn it in by the October 24th deadline. Space is limited and filled on a first-come, first-served basis. Don't miss this chance to have your organization included in the 1998 Colorado. Extension 9881.
Florida leads by 3. 3.5 minutes played in the 2nd quarter. We talked about the need to protect Palmer well today. In the last 3 Florida losses, the Fiesta Bowl defeat at the hands of Nebraska, the regular season meeting with Florida State last season, and last week's loss to LSU. Sacks a big problem. A total of 18 allowed by the Florida offensive line in those 3 defeats.
Well, and Steve Spurrier made a couple changes in that offensive line.
On 3rd down, a quarterback draw, and Palmer is very close as he crossed the 20. Let's get an update on Martavius Houston from Michelle.
Well, the Auburn training staff tells me it's nothing more than a bruised elbow. He bruised it right on the tip of that bone. They're padding it up. He's in a lot of pain, but they're going to send him back into this game, guys.
And as they patch him up, a measurement.
This is a potential championship game, Sean. You know, you play hurt through these kind of games. Guys go in there. It's remarkable. I've watched over the years players play with injuries. I never thought they could continue. They just keep playing because of the adrenaline and the competition.
For the moment, it appears Steve Spurrier is going to go for it on 4th down and inches, and now here comes the punting group. He pondered it for a moment. They've been successful on 4th downs this season, and they go for it with regularity, 6 out of 9. But at his own 21-yard line, he does what most coaches would do, and of course he is not like most coaches. We sent the punt unit on. Robbie Stevenson.
If he had gone for that, Sean, I would have hurled myself right out of the booth.
Fair catch called for and made by Markeith Cooper at the 37-yard line. 42-yard punt without a return. You can follow your favorite team all season long on CBS Sportsline. We have scores, highlights, breaking news, all kinds of in-depth information. CBS Sportsline is your online source for stats on all 112 Division I-A teams. Plus our team of journalists working hard to cover all your favorite sports. Check it out at cbs.sportsline.com. Game settling down a little bit after a wild and woolly start. Florida led 10-0. And now it's 10-7, and Auburn has the football down by 3. Out of the shotgun, Damian Craig running the option. This play gave LSU gave Florida problems with this play last week. And it works well for Craig at the 43-yard line. The fans thought he took a late hit out of bounds by Mike Harris.
What coaches do around the country, they watch films of the upcoming game, other teams, how they attack defenses. LSU really hurt Florida last week with the option. So consequently, Auburn has a great running quarterback. They put a little option play in. It's a positive gain. Damian Craig, good call by the official. I don't think that was a penalty at all out of bounds. Clearly the Florida defender tried to stop.
Gain of 6 for Craig. 2nd down and 4. Back to the I formation. Draw play. Rusty Williams tripped up at the 45-yard line. 2 yards shy of the first down. Tico Brown, the junior safety from Miami, made the tackle.
3rd and 2 at the 45.
Auburn started with poor field position on its first possession because Markeith Cooper elected to run the opening kickoff out from deep in his own end zone. But the interception by Ware gave them their best field position at the Florida 49, and that set up the only touchdown for Auburn. 3rd and short, 3rd and 2. This time they forced the pitch to Cooper. He has the first down. Markeith Cooper, the sophomore from Miami, tackled by Tico Brown in Florida territory at the 46-yard line, a gain of 8.
The only vulnerable area of the Florida defense that I've seen the last year and a half that I've watched them has been if you run right straight at them downhill. Don't try to run sideways. They have too much speed, or you can option them. And then you have to ask yourself, if we're going to throw the ball, can we get off the bump and run coverage that they play? Those are the only 3 weaknesses that this defense has, and Auburn has exploited that a little bit with the option play here on back-to-back plays.
Flag thrown by the umpire, lined up right behind the nose guard.
We have a dead ball. False start on the offense. The 5-yard penalty.
You know, both coaches, Sean, have certainly in the first half here come with several trick plays. Steve Spurrier, the reverse pass, the option for Auburn. I think both coaches want to convey to their team very clearly that we're not going to play tight. We want to be loose. Hey, let's roll the dice. And Terry Bowden, he said, hey, if we get beat by Florida, we still may meet them in the championship game in Atlanta later. So what the heck? Let's play our best game against their best game.
And Bowden's best game is to have his quarterback throw it all over the field. That's been the formula for the 6-0 start. His quick pass caught by Clifton Robinson, and it's a short gain. They got some of the penalty yardage back, but not much, to the 49 of Florida.
Boy, when you're trying to move against a real good defense like Florida, a little illegal procedure penalty like that really sets you back. It takes you off your rhythm. You know, you don't want to be playing from behind all the time. That's when Florida's at their best. When you have to throw and they can pin their ears back and bring that heat, that is when this defense is overwhelming.
2nd and 12. 10-7. Florida has the lead. 8:40 remaining in the first half. Blitz again from Ixnitis. Craig gets out of the grasp of Curse, and then Ixnitis got back into the play to bury him. And a huge loss, the 5th sack already for the Florida defense, and the play goes all the way back to the 37-yard line.
I don't want to say I told you so, but sure enough, you get into a passing situation and Bob Stoops, he turns them loose, and they come at you. John Xnitis coming from the open side. You either have to throw hot off that player, or you have to block him. You can't turn him loose to the quarterback like that. Auburn made a big mistake, consequently lost huge field position.
Great effort by Xnitis. Saw him go down, trying to grab Craig, and then he got back up to make the sack. A loss of 13. Third down, 25. They're trying to catch them by surprise with the handoff. Cooper gets them back out near midfield. Mike Harris made the tackle. But it's a punting situation for Auburn.
A lot of people would say, why in the world would a coach call a play like that with that kind of yardage? But the reality is, when you're so far behind the down and distance, you run a greater risk of making a mistake with the ball. You're in the game, 10-7. You're playing decent defense against Florida. Hey, you might pop a draw. All of a sudden, somebody runs off with their back to the ball. You pop a draw. Sometimes it can be a good play.
Jared Holmes, the punter. High, booming kick. Jamie Richardson let it go, and a good decision. It bounces into the end zone. 52-yard punt, but a net of 32. And the Gators will begin at their own 20. Next week, NASDAQ College Football here on CBS Sports begins with college football today. Jim, Craig, and Lou at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Followed by regional action. Some will see a very important Big East battle between a couple of top 25 teams, Virginia Tech and West Virginia. And that's always been a heated rivalry. Plus, we'll have SEC regional action all next Saturday, starting with college football today at 3 Eastern. Four receivers spread the field for Florida. Palmer throws to Jaquez Green. Gain of 7 out to the 27. Martavius Houston back in the game after being dinged. And Takeo Spikes combining on the stop for Auburn.
Remember, we said the Auburn secondary has got to be able to come up and tackle after the ball is received, come up and make a sure tackle so there's no run after catch. Jaquez Green gets 3 or 4 extra yards there because he's such an excellent runner, and it was a missed tackle.
Taylor stopped short of the first down. A gain of 1 for Fred out to the 28-yard line. Florida leads by 3. The Gators benefited from outstanding field position in the first quarter to build a 10-0 lead. First 3 possessions all started in Auburn territory. But they haven't been as fortunate with field position in the last 2, and consequently they've had to punt. A big 3rd down and 2 here with 6 minutes left in the first half. Palmer, play action fake. Auburn in a blitz. Deep pass, too long for Green. He was behind the defender, Antoine Nolan. But the pass was long. Palmer threw that ball a mile.
He really has a strong arm. And as you mentioned, Jaquez Green was open. He outran the secondary of Auburn, and he is behind him for a potential touchdown pass here, but the ball just wasn't delivered.
Just out of respect to the native Canadian Jesse Palmer, we should say he threw that ball about a kilometer. Robbie Stevenson, the punter, punting for the 3rd time to Markeith Cooper. Florida leads by 3. Heavy rush. Stevenson got it off. Cooper another fair catch at the 42-yard line. A 30-yard punt under duress from Robbie Stevenson. Courtney Rose was applying the pressure, and the redshirt freshman nearly blocked the kick.
Courtney Rose, number 30, comes underneath. He rushes from underneath on the right side. He is the man that almost got it. He actually overran the punt. He needs to go and take it right off the punter's foot, but he overran the block point just a little bit. But be assured, the Auburn coaches saw that. They will come back with that again.
Well, this is the 3rd possession for Auburn since getting within 10-7. And they haven't done much with the football the last 2 times on offense. Craig hit as he threw. That's caught by Hicks Poor. And he's out to the 47-yard line. Mike Moten put a pretty good pop on Damian Craig.
Mike Moten using a real nice pass rush technique, little spin move. He just comes off in the center here. He just uses a little move. And just really applies some pressure to Damian Craig. Moulton dominated the Tennessee game a few weeks ago inside with Ed Chester. They were the major factors.
Ed Chester not in action today. He had arthroscopic knee surgery to replace cartilage damage, repair cartilage damage, and also remove a bone chip. Inside handoff. Cooper dropped for a loss. That play seemed destined for failure from the start. Buck Gurley penetrated the defense and dropped Cooper. That Florida front is also without Tim Beauchamp, who was a starter earlier in the year. He's suspended for one game for academic reasons. He's been skipping too many classes. So there are a number of Gators who have been starters this year who are not here today, including Johnson, the quarterback that we mentioned, suspended for one game for a curfew violation 2 nights before the LSU game.
And the Florida defensive front has really been getting some penetration against the Auburn offensive line. That penetration has hurt the running game.
On 3rd and 6, a blitz, and he goes down again in the arms of Mike Moulton. 6 sacks in the first half for Florida.
Mike Moulton, number 90, just comes untouched. He comes on an inside move, and the left guard, number 69, DeMarcus Curry, turned out and just let Mike Moulton come underneath him for the sack. There was a miscommunication in the offensive line by Auburn as to who was going to take whom.
Holmes under pressure. Got off a good punt. Jamie Richardson from the 25. Surrounded by Tigers and wisely goes down. 40-yard punt. 4-yard return. Florida back on the attack in a moment.
Correction on that. A 40-yard kick for Jared Holmes. 1st and 10 for Florida at the 29.
On 1st down, Jesse Palmer dumps it over the middle. Caught by Rod Frazier, the starting fullback. Takeo Spikes brought him down to the 35. That's a gain of 6 on 1st down. More runs than passes for Florida as Steve Spurrier tries to help Jesse James Palmer along. The true freshman from Nepean, Ontario, not far from Toronto. He's from a football family. His father, Bill, was a linebacker in the Canadian Football League in the 70s. Palmer throws too low for Jaquez Green. Matter of fact, the Florida coaches found out about Jesse Palmer because Jesse's dad sent the Florida coaches and other schools a tape of Jesse playing in some club football games.
Steve Spurrier told us yesterday he really likes the way Palmer wants to study the offense. He comes in, does a lot of film preparation, wants to know why, really investigates the reasons behind the theory of the offense, and Steve has been impressed with that.
3rd down and 4. Palmer throws into coverage, and it is incomplete. Antoine Nolan delivered a big hit on Jamie Richardson and knocked the ball out when it looked like Jamie was about to make a great catch in traffic.
This would have been a great catch by Jamie Richardson. He runs a crossing route. You've got to credit the offensive line for Florida. They had all day long to throw this ball. But Larry Kasher, 24, and Martavius Houston, 25, they apply the hit. I'll tell you what, Jamie Richardson will go over there and readjust that headgear after that hit.
Good kick into the breeze by Stevenson. Cooper watched it go over his head. And it's downed by Baker at the 16-yard line. 49-yard punt.
49-yard kick for Stevenson. Down at the Auburn 16.
10-7 Florida. Under 2.5 minutes remaining in the first half. Auburn with the football, first and 10 at its own 16. The toss to Rusty Williams, and Keith Kelsey made the tackle. Short gain. Terry, with the exception of the touchdown drive after the interception by Ware, the Auburn offense has done virtually nothing.
Well, the Florida defense has really penetrated. The Auburn coaches felt like, hey, the offensive line is one of our real strengths. We're big, we're physical. But reality is the Florida defense has been very quick today. They've gotten off on the snap of the ball. They've penetrated, and they have brought an awful lot of heat on Damian Craig. That guy has been blindsided, chased around out of the pocket, and he's been under real duress.
New tailback, the true freshman, DeMontre Carter, who's already a fan favorite. He made his collegiate debut last week against Louisiana Tech and sparked the offense. He spins out of a tackle, and that's a first down for Auburn out to the 27-yard line.
Credit to DeMontre Carter with this run. Good backs sometimes make things happen on their own. And in this particular case, Carter took a little counter play. He actually gets tackled, spins around, does a real athletic move, keeping that hand on the ground, and falls forward for the first down.
Time a factor now, 1:25 remaining in the first half. Auburn has just one timeout left. The throw by Craig on the mark. First down, Auburn. Karsten Bailey tackled by Elijah Williams. And the question is, did he get out of bounds at the 44 after a gain of 17?
The Auburn coaches felt they had a real advantageous matchup with Karsten Bailey, who has tremendous speed, against number 25, Elijah Williams. Karsten Bailey got him pushed off, got him running, and then all of a sudden broke it out. And again, credit the Auburn backs. They stayed in and protected. They max protected that time and gave Damian Craig the time he needed.
He did not get out of bounds, so the clock is running. The pass caught. Nice move in traffic by Beasley. He's in bounds at the Florida 40-yard line, tackled by Keith Kelsey. They stop the clock to move the chains, but it'll run again once they set the chains.
Fred Beasley just circled out of the backfield, and Damian Craig did a good job looking him off and then finding him down the sideline, the right sideline. Florida missed a tackle. Beasley caught a difficult ball for the first down.
Clock down to 47 seconds left in the half. One timeout remaining for Auburn. Craig deep down the middle. Caught by Bailey. First down, Tigers. 23-yard line. Fred Weary made the tackle.
Sean, what's happened is the Auburn offense has made an adjustment. They are keeping their running backs in. They're helping their offensive line get better protection. And as a result of that, Damian Craig has more time to find receivers down the field. Earlier, Florida was whipping that line, but now those extra blockers are really helping them.
First and 10. Craig throws, and he threw it away. Bailey well covered on the near side by Elijah Williams. So 25 seconds remain to be played in the first half. And Florida still leads 10-7, but Auburn is in field goal range and coming up in a matter of seconds. The halftime report. Jim Nance, Craig James, and Lou Holtz from our studio in New York. Rodney Allison, the offensive coordinator. He tutored Brett Favre for a couple of years while he was on the staff at Southern Mississippi. Says Damian Craig is every bit as intelligent as Brett Favre. Florida appeared to have too many men on the field. There's also a whistle stopping the play. The fans don't realize that that touchdown by Goodson will not count. There was all kinds of confusion on the Florida sideline. Javon Curse was trying to get off the field. He was just about at the sideline leaping for the chalk when the ball was snapped, and it looked like Florida was also trying to call a timeout.
Well, Bob Stoops was definitely trying to call timeout. Florida just had too many men on the field.
And guess what? Once again, there is no flag, just a timeout. Entire Florida defense surrounding Bobby Stoops, the 37-year-old coordinator. 10-7 Florida. They got a timeout, therefore the flag was picked up. I think this officiating crew has set a record for picking up the flag without a penalty being called after a flag had been thrown. It's the third time the officials have done that here in the first half.
I think Tony George actually got the timeout called. It appeared to me that he signaled it for the timeout. The official who threw the flag didn't see that signal, but one of the back judges did. He's the one that came over and ruled off the flag. I really believe it was a good call by the officiating crew.
There's Tony George, the junior from Cincinnati.
Playing with a broken thumb today. Got hurt in the LSU game, went back in that game with a bad thumb, and is playing today. That's what the Auburn Florida game brings out, and you just want to play it.
Tigers have 4 wideouts in the game. They spread the field. 24 seconds left. 2nd and 10 at the Florida 23. Craig throws. It is almost intercepted off the deflection. Hicks Poore had it flying off his hands, and Mike Harris had a shot at it on the carom.
Hicks Poore just didn't look quickly enough for the ball. He and Damian Craig had eye contact. Hicks Poore is there. He and Damian Craig said, if they blitz, I'm going to give you the ball. They blitzed, but Hicks Poore didn't look fast enough for the quarterback. Consequently, the ball was thrown behind him.
3rd down and 10. 20 seconds left in the half. Florida leads 10-7. Craig with a lot of time. Throws. It is caught inside the 5. The clock will stop on the reception by Goodson, which gives them a first down. 14 seconds left. The clock will run when the chains are set. Bowden wants a spike into the ground by Craig, it appears.
Absolutely. If your quarterback won't call a play for you here, put the ball into the ground and get reorganized.
And there it is. 11 seconds remaining. It'll be 2nd and goal from inside the 5.
You know, you really have 2 choices there, Sean. One is to spike the ball, which a lot of coaches prefer, and the other is to go ahead and let your quarterback call a play and run it. Why the chains are being moved, and so you get another play at the end zone. It just depends how you train your team and what you like.
Damian Craig has come all the way over to the sideline. I think he thought it was going to be a timeout, and obviously they don't want to use the timeout here. They want to save it for after another play, so he has to hurry back over into the huddle.
I used to run our quarterback over sometimes because I wanted to tell him something direct.
Well, the coaches didn't want him over there. They were waving at him to get back on the field. Play clock down to 4 as it is snapped. Craig throws it away just as he was about to be sacked by Keith Kelsey.
Now you really have a tough decision. You only have 5 seconds on the clock. You have a timeout. Do you have enough time to run a play? And if you don't get it in the end zone, are you going to leave yourself enough time to go ahead and kick the field goal? Damian Craig almost takes a critical sack here. It was a great play by Keith Kelsey and Damian Craig unloading that ball.
They're going to line up for the field goal, it seems. I think this is the right move. Terry,
Absolutely.
no guarantee you're going to get another play. It will be very deflating for an underdog team to come out of this situation with no points, and they had a chance to go in tied at the break.
No, I think this is absolutely the right call.
20-yard field goal try by Jared Holmes. It is good. And it's halftime in Auburn, Alabama. Here's Michelle Tafoya.
Coach, 6 sacks by your defense. They were able to hold Auburn to a field goal just before the half. How have they been able to do this?
Well, we're playing pretty well defensively. Offensively, we're not doing too much. Not running it well, not throwing it a lick. But we're in the game. It's a good, close game.
What's the best adjustment you can make offensively next half?
I don't know what we're going to do yet. We may do something different, though.
Thanks, Coach.
The end of the first half, the score, Florida 10, Auburn 10. Jim Nance, Craig James, and Lou Holtz will be along with college football halftime report right after this word from your local station.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1997 was a magical year for the Auburn men's swimming and diving program. For the 3rd consecutive year, the Tigers ended the season undefeated in dual meet competition. Jared Holmes to pick off. Number 8 for Florida, number 2 for Carroll, and number 25 for Elijah Williams.
Jesse Palmer and the Florida Gators getting ready for the start of the second half. The Gators will have the ball to begin the second half as Jared Holmes will kick off for Auburn. Elijah Williams, one of 2 deep men for the Gators. Bo Carroll is also along the goal line. Holmes kicking with a slight breeze. And that's standard behavior from Holmes. 68% of his kickoffs this season have gone for touchbacks. We welcome you back to Auburn, Alabama. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue. You made the point on the last Auburn drive, and Terry Bowden just touched upon it with Michelle. A key to the turnaround was that as the half progressed, Auburn did a much better job with the Florida blitz.
Well, no question. Early in the game, the Florida front 7 was dominating Auburn, but Terry Bowden and his coaches began to keep 2 backs in the backfield to become extra blockers. They picked up those blitzes. Auburn went all the way down to the goal line and kicked that field goal with 5 seconds to go.
Fairly conservative offensive style in the first half by Florida. We'll see if that changes now that Palmer has one half of football under his belt. His first pass of the half on the money to Travis McGriff for a first down.
Well, and the front 7 really has some speed at Florida, and they put Damian Craig under tremendous pressure throughout the entire first half. But remember this, that Damian Craig finally got settled down and took that team down to that touchdown pass and to the field goal after they got their protection solved.
6 sacks in the first half for Florida. 15-yard gain on the first play for the Gators. That pass intercepted. Another high throw and another pickoff by Brad Ware. His first interception changed the momentum of the game. His second has Auburn in business to start the second half.
Charles Dorsey, the nose guard, he's the man that applies the pressure to Jesse Palmer. He gets into Palmer's face, gets his hands up. Consequently, the ball sails high. And there, Brad Ware, once again, is the man on the spot. He has made the 2 plays that have certainly given Auburn all of their momentum this afternoon.
He's a sophomore from Powder Springs, Georgia. The pass deflected. And it falls incomplete. Looked like Fred Weary had a chance to pick it off after it was tipped near the line of scrimmage.
Your quarterback, particularly a young quarterback, when he stands in the pocket, when he feels that pressure, that heat around him, that's when he gets a little bit anxious. The ball sails a little bit, his feet don't get settled down. All kinds of things can happen, and you got to credit the defense there. Charles Dorsey, he's the guy that came up with that pressure.
Noah Brindise is warming up. He's the 3rd-string quarterback. It was not a clear-cut choice at the start of the week if it would be Palmer or Brindise. Brindise is a senior, more experienced. They thought Palmer had a bit more natural physical ability. Demontre Carter trying to get outside, and he's down to the 31-yard line. Good run on 2nd and 10 by the true freshman from Pensacola, Florida.
The Auburn offense needs to get Demontre Carter more involved. But what happens is when you're playing a young freshman, he doesn't know pass protection, and you're worried about him getting your quarterback killed. But the reality is that guy can run with the ball. He's elusive, he's strong, he's explosive, and he excites this stadium, and that helps you in this kind of a game.
3rd down. You need to get just inside the 27 for another first down. It's a short 5 to go. Craig sidesteps Rogers. Now Javon Kirsch strips the football, and it goes out of bounds at the 50-yard line. Huge loss on the play. They were in field goal range for a long try from Jared Holmes, but that is no longer the case.
A guy like Damian Craig can really help you with his legs. He can make big plays. In this particular case, though, he really hurt his offensive team by continuing to retreat. He needed to tuck the ball under, fight his way back to the line of scrimmage, and live to fight another down. A huge sack for the Florida defense.
20-yard loss on the play for Auburn. So it's Holmes to punt with Jaquez Green. Back deep. And Jaquez let it roll, and the Tigers down it near the 3-yard line. 48-yard punt. A job well done by the senior from Clinton, Mississippi, Jarrett Holmes.
Well, Jarrett Holmes has had a very important day in affecting the field position since the second quarter on. He has really helped the Auburn team.
And at quarterback for Florida is number 17.
And a change at quarterback now for Florida. The senior, Noah Brandeis.
Steve Spurrier, Sean, gets very impatient with quarterbacks when they throw too many interceptions.
Tough spot for Brandeis to enter. He hands it off to Taylor, and he's out to the 5, and that's all. Ricky Neal made the tackle. Gain of 2. Like Palmer, Brandeis has appeared in 4 games prior to today. He's from Fort Myers, Florida, former walk-on who was awarded a scholarship this past spring. He has a great knowledge of the offense.
And I think it was interesting when Michelle was talking to Steve. Steve said, hey, we may play a little different this half. I think this is what he meant with a different quarterback. Maybe change the tempo of the game, take some pressure off that young freshman, and then go ahead and maybe put him back in the game later.
Draw, running room for Taylor. First down as he's across the 15-yard line. Tripped up by Rob Pate, the true freshman strong safety. Big first down for the Gators. In a 10-10 game early in the third quarter, the halftime numbers, total yardage almost dead even, but below what you would expect from these two high-powered offensive teams.
Well, in big games, oftentimes the defenses step up. You expect a high-scoring game, but the defenses start making plays, and all of a sudden you're in a struggle defensively.
Each turnover was key. It led to a score by the opposition in the first half. Taylor close to another first down out of the 27-yard line. Ryan Taylor, no relation, made the tackle on Fred Taylor. And it is another first down for the Gators.
I think when you look at Florida, certainly their offensive line and Fred Taylor have a lot more experience than either one of the quarterbacks they've played. So what Steve Spurrier's thinking is, hey, let's let that offensive line, let's let that big old tailback make some yards here. Yeah, I'm going to throw the ball, but play a little conservative with these new quarterbacks, and that's what Steve's doing.
Must pain Coach Spurrier to do it. He doesn't like to play that way. Taylor on the run. Ricky Neal and Martavius Houston combining on the stop.
But I think that's a mark of a great coach that'll adjust. He's flexible enough. It's not the style he wants to play, but he realizes he's in a defensive struggle, and the quarterback can hurt you sometimes more than he can help you. And so you got to be careful in that case.
And that was the case with Jesse Palmer. 2 key interceptions, although the second one did not result in Auburn points. Nearly 4 minutes played, third quarter, 10-10 the score. Brandeis, a wobbly pass, but it's on target to Nafis Kareem. And that's a first down for the Gators into Auburn territory at the 46-yard line. Brad Ware made the tackle on the junior from Marietta, Georgia, Nafis Kareem.
Well, I think you've got to credit the Florida offense. They were backed up with their backs to the wall. They took the ball, they moved it on the ground. Now all of a sudden they get a little space, and they get Jaquez Green on an inside route, and Brandeis throws a perfect pass like a lot of Florida quarterbacks do. They're part of the system. He's going to play up to the game.
First and 10. They moved sharply from their own 3 to the Auburn 46. Nothing doing that time. Sakio Spikes leading the defensive surge on Fred Taylor. Lately, a string of punts for Florida. They had success on the first 2 possessions, in large part due to outstanding field position.
And part of their bad field position was because Jarrett Holmes, the punter for Auburn, has had a good day and has made some good kicks and changed the field position on him.
Second and 10. Fred Taylor up to 69 yards rushing on 17 carries. Brandeis throws way over the head of Jaquez Green, covered by Antoine Nolan.
That ball got away from Noah Brandeis. The ball just sailed on him. He said right there, it's my fault. He knew. Jaquez Green ran in a decent route. He came down, ran a little curl. He's open for a moment, but the ball just got way out of hand for him.
Five wide receivers in the game for Florida. On third down, nearly 10 to go for a first down. They're showing blitz. Taylor came on a blitz. That pass is caught by Travis McGriff for a first down. They beat the blitz. Antoine Nolan made the tackle, but the Gators continue the drive.
Well, Bill Oliver, the defensive coordinator for Auburn, really gambled. There was no free safety in the middle of the defense. They brought the pressure, trying to put the new quarterback under the pressure, but he did a great job stepping up, and he found little Travis McGriff for the completion over the middle. He ran an inside square route and beat his man, got open. That's what you expect when you have pure man-to-man coverage.
There's Bill Oliver wiping his face with the towel. Long-time defensive coordinator in these parts for Alabama and Auburn. And 1 second of the play clock. Brandeis took the snap. Look out. He throws over the head of Dwight Edge, the tight end, and it falls incomplete. That looked like a disaster waiting to happen for Noah Brandeis.
And you got to credit the Florida offensive line. He had forever to throw the ball, but Auburn did an excellent job in their coverage that time. He just couldn't find anyone open and finally got flushed out of the pocket.
Brandeis wants to be a college football coach. That's one of the reasons he decided to walk on at Florida. Study under Steve Spurrier. Second and 10 from the 30. Timeout called by Auburn. That could be a major factor in a tight game late. Still tied at 10 in the third.
Auburn Athletics would like to welcome and thank today's Boy Scout ushers from the following communities. Troop 20 from Ozark, Troop 19 from Jacksonville, Troop 25 and Troop 130 from Talladega, Troop 58 from Gadsden, Troop 65 from Rockford, Troop 71 from Albertville, and Troop 126 from Sylacauga. Auburn Athletics will also welcome and thank today's group that presented the colors, the Lyman Ward Military Academy. The Prince and family of Natalie Bond are proud to announce the dedication of their nearly finished field. You're cordially invited to the dedication ceremony of the inaugural game tomorrow at 1 o'clock at 133 Dabbs Avenue in Uniontown, Alabama, next to the baseball field. Following the ceremony, the break in this field is Auburn softball versus Alabama softball. Gates open at 11. Call the Uniontown Chamber of Commerce for ticket information.
Second largest crowd in the history of Jordan-Hare Stadium watching a terrific game. 85,244. The attendance here surpassed only by the crowd for the game against Alabama in 1989. Second and 10. Florida at the Auburn 30. Gators trying to reclaim the lead. They led 10-0. Brandeis throws, nearly intercepted, and that would have gone the distance in the other direction. But Larry Kasher, the true freshman, could not hang on. He stepped right in front of Travis McGriff.
Sean, what happened on that play is that the Auburn defense showed Noah Brandeis one defense early, and then they went to another defense. They went to a squatted corner who was able to break on the ball. Number 24, Larry Kasher, just inches away from going the distance. That was great disguise by the Auburn secondary.
Now 3rd and 10. Out of the shotgun, Brandeis throws. McGriff with another catch for a first down. He beat Antoine Nolan on the coverage. McGriff came into this game with 12 catches for the season, 10 of them resulting in first downs, and he's improving on that ratio today.
You know, a lot of times you think they're going to go to Jaquez Green, their go-to guy, but Travis McGriff has come up big for the Gators a lot of times this season. He ran a little inside route, beat his man, and give Noah Brandeis the credit. He put the ball where he needed to under pressure.
3 catches for McGriff today, all for Florida first downs. Impressive drive. Bear in mind that this Gator march began at their own 3-yard line. Play clock at 1. Taylor through a hole. Keogh spikes, and Ricky Neal combining on the stop, but that's a quality gain inside the 11 for Taylor. It'll be 2nd down, about 3.
Good job by the quarterback, checking the play, changing the play at the line of scrimmage. You know, you go into the 85,000 people screaming. You've got to have presence of mind to be able to get there and get the checks that the coaching staff has worked on all week long. Brandeis did exactly that.
13th play of the drive. Stop for no gain by Jimmy Brumbaugh as Taylor tried to make his way around right end. And Brumbaugh, who grew up in Keystone Heights, Florida, about 20 miles from Gainesville, but was not recruited by the Gators, made the stop.
Now, Jimmy Brumbaugh is probably the best defensive lineman they have. The Auburn coaches talk about him having a real motor. He plays so hard every down, and the front 3 for Auburn has really improved. They've done a good job as the season's gone along.
Timeout Florida. Each team now with 2 timeouts remaining.
Tiger basketball fans, on December 20th, the Auburn Tigers will give a whole new meaning to the word holiday cheer as they head to Birmingham to take part in the Holiday Hardwood Classic. You'll witness the Tigers, Alabama, UAB, and Tulane all in one arena, all on one day. 2 games on.
NASDAQ College Football on CBS is sponsored by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. The Nicoderm CQ Stop Smoking Patch. You bring a commitment, CQ brings the rest. And by Dean Witter. There are many ways to measure success. We measure it one investor at a time.
Big play here, Terry.
Well, Steve Spurrier likes to throw to the corners of the end zone down here, so be careful with Jaquez Green and Jamie Richardson down to those corners.
On 3rd and 3, touchdown, Jaquez Green.
When you line up against Jaquez Green, you've got to say they love to run the post corner routes. Here, Jaquez, rather than going to the corner, just takes it inside and keeps it inside. And Noah Brandeis does a good job of getting in the ball for the Gator score.
How about that drive? It started at the 3-yard line. They went 97 yards, capped on the 10-yard touchdown pass, Brandeis to Green. And the extra point by Collins Cooper is good, and Florida's back on top again.
2 minutes, 50 seconds remaining to play in the 3rd quarter. Florida's touchdown drive,
17-10 Florida in the 3rd quarter. A 10-10 tie. What a drive engineered by Noah Brandeis. He's been around the program for a long time. Now as a senior, came into the program as a walk-on, getting a rare opportunity to play in an unbelievably pressure-packed situation. He led his team on a 97-yard drive, 14 plays, 7 rushes and 7 passes, consumed 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
And you know, coaches love to talk about football being a game of inches. What about the pass he threw in the flat that Auburn almost took back for a clean score? This is when Noah Brandeis threw out into the flat late, and Auburn there is clear sailing for the touchdown, just inches away.
Instead, the drive continued, and they scored on the 10-yard pass to Green. Stevenson's kickoff. Well, now Cooper's a little gun shy. Wren went out earlier, and it was a mistake. That time just 1 yard deep. He decided to stay in.
The Auburn defense knew what I knew. Florida likes to throw to the corner of the end zone. They line a defensive back outside, try to help him underneath with Larry Pate. Jaquez Green is going to just run inside, and Pate just gets there a little bit late. He turned his back, couldn't find the ball. It was excellent execution by Jaquez Green, who found the open seam.
A reception by Green, his 9th touchdown catch of the season. He's had at least 1 TD reception in 6 of the 7 games this year. The only time he was held without a touchdown reception was last week by LSU. The pass from Craig, intended for Karsten Bailey, was incomplete. As a matter of fact, Terry, in that game last week at LSU, it was the first time in 68 games that Florida had not thrown at least 1 touchdown pass. That streak dated back to 1992, one of several streaks that ended last week.
Well, Florida's always done a great job with the forward pass, and you know, Damian Craig is a player today. I thought that Auburn would throw the ball a little more effectively than they have against this Florida defense. The Florida defense has put a lot of pressure on Damian Craig. He's played well, but I did think he'd hit more open receivers and move the ball through the air a little bit better.
2nd and 10, 4-man rush, but they're still putting pressure on Craig, and he flips it incomplete. That ball bounced shy of his intended target, Hicks 4. In the NFL, that would have been in the grasp. Javon Curse wanted a sack call and did not get it.
One of the things that Bob Stoops, the defensive coordinator, wanted to do was change up rush lanes. Mike Moulton came from the left side all the way to the right side. He's the man circling around, and he's the one that chases Damian Craig out of the pocket and causes the sack by number 42, Javon Curse.
He was being held as he made his way around T.J. Mears, but there was no flag. So now it's 3rd down and 10. Midway through the 3rd quarter. Movement along the line. The left guard was backing up to Marcus Curry.
That Florida defense gets you on your heels.
Ball start on the offense. Be a 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down.
They bring a lot of inside pressure by linebackers, and so those guards or those uncovered players feel that pressure. Those guys are up there nibbling at that line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden you get a little antsy, you move just a little bit, and disaster strikes, and you get your team behind the down and distance.
Ben Leard, the backup quarterback, signaling the plays. Terry Bowden calls most of the plays himself, as does Steve Spurrier. 3rd down and 15. Just a couple of brief spurts of good-looking offense from Auburn today, and that's been it. Otherwise, the Auburn offense has sputtered. Craig steps up and throws a long one, looking for Bailey. He's out of bounds. Tight coverage by Elijah Williams.
We said at the beginning of the game that the Auburn wide receivers had better be able to beat bump and run coverage. This was an example. Elijah Williams has played this play to perfection. He was all over Karsten Bailey.
The ball was spotted in the wrong spot. Now they have it back where it belongs, to the 15-yard line. Florida should get excellent field position after this punt from Jared Holmes. Jaquez Green standing at his own 45-yard line. Holmes has had a good day, and this is a good punt. Green started at his own 42, and he got tackled at the 47 after a 5-yard return. Brent Turner again made the tackle on punt coverage for Auburn. Back live, and on 1st down, Fred Taylor, the ball carrier for Florida. Short gain, perhaps a yard out to the 49-yard line. And it'll be second down and 9, more than midway through the third quarter. Florida leads 17-10.
This is a critical series here for both the Florida offense, but particularly for the Auburn defense. As you mentioned, Sean, Florida has excellent field position here. If they come down and put another score on them, it's going to be tough for Auburn to stay in this game because the Florida defense has been dominating.
No backs. Brandeis throws, and Green made the catch, and then he got leveled by Brad Ware. Been a big day for Jaquez Green. He started the scoring by throwing a touchdown pass off a reverse. 12 yards to Jamie Richardson, and then he caught the go-ahead touchdown pass moments ago.
Every team needs a big play guy. Jaquez Green, along with Fred Taylor, those are kind of the big play guys for the Florida offense right now.
Third down and 3 at the Auburn 45-yard line. And Brandeis burns another timeout with the play clock at 3. One timeout remaining for Florida.
Take part in Auburn's friendliest tradition. The SGA and UBC Special Events Committee is sponsoring Heyday on October 28th. Come to the Eagles cage from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. 17 Hawaii 3. In the fourth quarter.
Back live at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Florida got out to a very quick lead after a short punt. A touchdown pass from Jaquez Green to Jamie Richardson. On a field goal by Collins Cooper made it 10-0. 10-7 after a touchdown pass, Craig to Dillard. We'll continue the scoring summary in a moment. Strange formation. They throw it out in the flat, and that's an incomplete pass. Incomplete pass. This means nothing. The crowd doesn't realize that the officials had ruled that an incomplete forward pass. The fans and the Tigers thought that was a backward pass, and therefore a fumble, which could have been returned, but it was forward out of a very strange formation.
This was a formation Steve Spurrier has used before. He calls it the Emery and Henry. There's only 3 players inside. All the wideouts are all spread out to both sides. He tried to throw a little screen pass to Jaquez Green. The pass went astray, and consequently the incompletion. But Steve, I've seen Steve Spurrier run that formation several times. The first time I ever saw that formation, Tommy Prothro ran it when he was coaching the Rams against the 49ers about 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Robbie Stevenson to punt. A part of the field where a fake wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility. He's angling for the near corner, needs a bounce, and Tony George couldn't save it. It's a touchback. 45-yard punt, but a net of 25. We'll continue the scoring summary. On the last play of the first half, Jared Holmes kicked a 20-yard field goal to tie the game at 10. Florida has dominated the third quarter. A 97-yard drive, capped by a 10-yard reception by Jaquez Green on the first drive, led by the new quarterback Noah Brandeis. And it's 17-10 with 5:35 remaining in the third quarter. And the Auburn offense has sputtered. Damian Craig hoping for a big day to help his team to a huge win, but also to improve his Heisman Trophy hope. He's been under pressure all day and hasn't been able to do very much. DeMontre Carter goes nowhere. And that ball came out. Boy, it looked like they had his forward progress stopped. They drove him back 3 yards. The initial hit was made at the 20. He's back at the 17-yard line. And it's being ruled second down. I don't know if they recovered the fumble after Mike Peterson knocked it free.
Well, Mike Peterson is one of the players on the Florida defense that coaches consider maybe to be their most consistent player. It's a form tackle. The ball clearly comes out. The question is, was his momentum and forward progress stopped, and did the whistle blow? And in this case, it certainly appears so.
Yeah, he certainly was not going forward. So it looked like Florida recovered the fumble, and they've spotted the ball back at the 17 where the pile was for the fumble. So it's tough to figure out what happened there. Craig running away from Willie Coens. Now he throws, and it was nearly intercepted. He was looking for DeMontre Carter, and Dwayne Thomas was closest to it. There is a flag on the play on the far sideline at the 33-yard line.
This is the formation that Auburn got in at the end of the first half, where they wanted to keep their backs in to help the protection. Damian Craig has protection, and he has time to throw this ball. But eventually it broke down.
We have a holding on the defense. The 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Eventually the protection broke down, and he was flushed from the pocket. These two receivers over there, they're isolating over there, trying to get good man-to-man matchups. Craig has plenty of time in the pocket. You can see right here the bump and run coverage of Florida is effective. There's no one to throw to. Finally he gets flushed out, and away he goes.
Automatic first down of the defensive holding penalty out to the 27-yard line. Under 5 minutes remaining. Third quarter. Florida leads by 7. 17-10. Craig thought about running, now throws, and it's nearly intercepted. Damian Craig is way off his game right now. The nearest person to that throw was Elijah Williams, the cornerback for Florida.
The reason he's off his game is Bob Stoops has done a great job of running a lot of twist stunts up front. And when you twist players, you change players from one rush lane to another. And all of a sudden, Damian Craig thinks there's an opening to run the ball when he wants to, and that lane has been filled by someone who's twisted from the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, or the opposite side of the ball. That's disrupting his ability to scramble.
He's 0 for his last 7. That was a high flutter ball they threw. They go back to the option. It's a pitch to Cooper. And he's not getting far this time. Peterson again from his linebacker spot, and Tony George up from his safety position, combining on the play.
The Florida defense is starting to rear its head. It's starting to really toughen down. Bob Stoops, the defense coordinator there. A lot of people think that this Florida defense, despite what happened last week at LSU, might be one of the better defenses in school history. And when I've watched them play this year, there's been nothing that I've seen that has changed my impression of that.
I don't think there's any question that that is true. Craig had a terrible game against Florida last year. You wonder if there's some lingering after effects. The coaches say he's much more mature this season. A big part of the success this year, he doesn't have the lows. He doesn't get down after mistakes. He's being tested here, and that's on the money for a first down to Hicks-Poor. Out to the 39-yard line. They picked up the first down by 2 yards.
Damian Craig did a great job that time working the pocket. There was a Florida rusher who came free from the outside. He stepped up inside and made a remarkable recovery so that he could release this pass to Hicks-Poor, who was working inside on a little underneath route. That all that time that took, that was the result of the mobility that Damian Craig has.
Hicks-Poor is a senior from Marietta, Georgia, walk-on. The rush well picked up that time. Cooper tackled at the 43, perhaps the 44. Gain of 5 on first down. Mike Peterson made the tackle. Damian Craig has struck up a friendship with Peyton Manning. They've talked from time to time on the telephone in recent weeks. They have a mutual friend in Tennessee backup quarterback T. Martin. Damian told us yesterday he chatted with Peyton Manning during the week. And one of the things Peyton told him was that he didn't feel the Volunteers went deep enough with regularity against Florida. Craig, after the mishandled snap, threw, and it's incomplete off the hands of Karsten Bailey. They almost turned a disaster into a first down, but Bailey couldn't hang on.
Ball, he tried to field the ball with just his right hand. Actually, the snap wasn't all that bad. Damian Craig needs to move both hands over to handle that snap. I think he was looking at the secondary, trying to figure out where they were possibly coming with the blitz, and his eyes weren't on that ball. That happens once in a while in the shotgun. One of the disadvantages of the shotgun formation.
Third down and 6 near midfield. Craig throws, man wide open. Clifton Robinson, first down, Auburn across midfield. And down to the Florida 48, bumped down by Tony George.
Clifton Robinson is just a true freshman. He spreads wide to the field. He's the inside receiver. He's going to run underneath the defense. And that underneath route, those other receivers clear it. There's a little void in there. Damian Craig throws him a nice little pass.
Robinson can run after the catch. He was recruited out of high school last year as a tailback. Rushed for more than 5,800 yards in Naples, Florida. Craig, look out. Moulton couldn't get him down. Craig throws it away. Wisely so. He had a second and third life. Eric Lowe was the intended target, but that was really nowhere near Lowe, who was well covered by John Ixnitis.
Well, they gave him real good protection initially, but finally the protection broke down. But again, Damian Craig's legs got him out of trouble. Mike Moulton comes from the right side all the way down here on the bottom of the screen. He eventually flushes him out, but he can't quite make that play because of the strength and mobility of a player like Craig.
You wonder if this Florida defensive line will get tired chasing Damian Craig. As we mentioned, they're without Chester and Beauchamp today, not as deep as they ordinarily are.
Sean, it's a great point. They are getting tired.
Craig throws, low throw, but caught very close to first down yardage for Clifton Robinson.
And I'll tell you another reason they're getting tired. Auburn has changed their strategy. They've gone to no huddle offense. They're not letting the Florida defense rest. They're getting the plays right at the line of scrimmage. Florida is shuttling in defensive linemen. They're running them in and out, trying to get them fresh. But when you go no huddle, conditioning becomes a real factor in a game.
And to prepare for this game, they used the no huddle throughout the entire game last week in the win over Louisiana Tech. The first time this year they had used it. They've done it in the past successfully. That's a loss. Willie Coens, Javon Curse, Tony George through the line to drop Markeith Cooper back at the 41-yard line. Second largest crowd in the history of Jordan-Hare Stadium. And it's been a terrific ball game. Florida has not trailed. It was tied at 10 at the half. Now it's 17-10. In the final minutes of the third quarter, Terry Bowden thought about going for this on 4th down and 3. And now he sends the punt unit on. Jaquez Green just now coming onto the field.
This is a tough call. You want to go for it. You want to be able to say, hey, we're going to go for this, but you're playing into the teeth of a good defense, and you're 7 points down. You play good defense sometimes. Terry Bowden elected to do it.
Green runs away from the punt. They have a chance to down it inside the 15. It didn't take a great bounce for Auburn, but they do down it at the 15-yard line. Larry Melton downed it. 26-yard punt. After the game, our college football coverage rolls on with CBS.sportsline.com. Their scores, highlights, breaking news. Check out our key plays of the game. Don't forget to vote in our top 25 team fan poll. It's all at our cyberspace address, CBS.sportsline.com. And now Florida's play selection is tilted to the pass. While Palmer was in there, they relied on the run.
I think Steve Spurrier has a little more confidence in the older quarterback. Even though he didn't start him, he seems to be looser this half with him.
Noah Brandeis hands off to Taylor, big hole, and he powers his way out to the 23-yard line. A gain of 8 on first down for Taylor. Keo Spikes and Jimmy Brumbaugh made the tackle.
And Sean, remember the last drive, Florida was backed up into their own territory deep, and it was a long drive by Florida for the touchdown, and Fred Taylor played a very instrumental part in that drive with some early runs while they're backed up.
They don't have to run another play here in the third quarter, but it appears they will. 5 seconds left in the quarter. Well, perhaps they won't. Brandeis content to let the quarter end. That's the end of the third quarter with the score. Florida 17 and Auburn 10. We'll return to Jordan-Hare Stadium right after this message and a word from your local station. Start of the fourth quarter in a game which is living up to its advanced billing. Florida leads Auburn 17-10. The first play of the fourth quarter is second down for Florida in short yardage, about 3 to go for the first down, and Fred Taylor is very close to the first down marker at the 26-yard line. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue, and coached for so many years at Florida, it was the offense which carried the defense. The Gators would outscore the opponents, but this season it's the defense doing more than its fair share.
Well, no question, and particularly today because of the change at quarterback. I think Florida's doing exactly the right thing, relying on that great defense. They're playing somewhat conservative with new quarterbacks, but, you know, Steve Spurrier never knows how to play totally conservative. His idea of grinding it out is running one running play and then launch it, you know, so that's just the way it is. But they're going with their strength, which is their defense.
Their average touchdown drive this season, 2.5 minutes. They had one of longer than 5 minutes when they marched 97 yards. On 1st and 10, Jeff Dunlap went slipping through the defense with help from Ricky Neal to trip up Taylor for no gain on the play. Well, yesterday when we spoke with Terry Bowden about Steve Spurrier, he said, well, he can get impatient. He said it's actually a strength sometimes, but it is one of his few weaknesses occasionally as a coach.
Well, no question that last week, I think LSU got Steve Spurrier a little bit impatient and frustrated with the mistakes and the penalties and not giving him up big plays. And Auburn's tried to do that today. They've made Florida work for everything they've gotten.
Auburn coming on a blitz, and Taylor is looking to run through it. He bounces off ahead and has a first down. Out to the 42-yard line. Brad Ware made the tackle after a gain of 16.
I think you've got to credit Fred Taylor with just some outstanding running here. The initial hole was closed up. Fred Taylor wanted to run a draw play off to the right side, but that hole gets closed up, and then he'll make a break inside to his left, sees that daylight, and takes it up the field north and south for the positive yardage. That's just a great cut by an outstanding back.
He's 1 yard away from another 100-yard rushing day. And he has that yard and many more. Another first down. Taylor into Auburn territory at the 47, where Takeo Spikes made the tackle. 111 yards rushing now for Fred Taylor. It's the 6th time in 7 games this year he's surpassed 100.
They're getting some outstanding blocking. Ryan Kalich, the left guard, he's the man that kind of opens the hole. Doesn't move his man anywhere, but he kept contact and widened him. And when that defender widened, the hole opened up inside.
2 minutes played, 4th quarter.
Hard to beat Florida. When they run for 100 yards, they're hard to beat because they have it going both in the run and in the throwing game.
And Taylor has it going. It's the defense of Auburn that looks tired now as Taylor's down to the 32-yard line. Rob Pate made the tackle. 16 more on the rush for Taylor. We saw him wear out Tennessee in the second half of that game, and he might be doing it to Auburn today.
Well, and I think you got to credit Rod Frazier, the fullback. He's going to be at the top of the screen. He makes a block, stays on his man, which allows Taylor to bounce it outside. Fullbacks don't get much recognition, but Rod Frazier, number 40, he made a good block that helped that play spring.
Bo Carroll, the true freshman, in a tailback as Taylor gets a breather. On 1st and 10 from the 32. Carroll can fly, but he had no running room. And he's ahead for a gain of 2 to the 30-yard line. Leonardo Carson. Ryan Taylor made the tackle.
Sean, it's not a lot of weeks that you watch Florida play that you'll see that many consecutive runs out of the Florida offense. We're watching something here that doesn't happen very often. But Steve Spurrier's playing to his strength, his offensive line and that big old tailback, Fred Taylor. Those are the strengths today because of the quarterback situation. Next week they may be different, but those are the...
Bo Carroll remains in the game. Brandeis hands it to him. And that's 3 more. And another tackle made by Carson. So it'll be an important 3rd down coming up for the Gators. They're at the 27. They need to reach the 22. And the clock is under 11.5 minutes remaining. Florida leads by a touchdown, and they are in makeable field goal range. Brandeis came off the bench in the 3rd quarter in relief of Jesse Palmer. Palmer threw 2 interceptions. One of them led to an Auburn score. Taylor looked like he was going to give it back to Brandeis and did not, and that play is dropped for a loss. Takeo Spikes made the play, and it looks like they're going to go for it on 4th down. They do not have a great field goal kicker in Cooper Collins. Cooper, pardon me.
Steve Spurrier is going to try to get the ball to those wide receivers. In this kind of a situation with this kind of yardage, you've got to go ahead and throw it outside to those wideouts.
4th and 6. in a 7-point game. The pass deflected and it falls incomplete.
Florida was trying to hit Nafis Kareem, number 8, on a curl route. He just really didn't come open. The ball got tipped up by Jimmy Brumbaugh, number 96, the best defensive lineman at Auburn.
Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue and Michelle Tafoya. At Jordan-Hare Stadium, 10.5 minutes remaining. Auburn takes over, 1st and 10, trailing by 7. Damian Craig and the Tigers beginning at their own 28-yard line. That pass deflected, still caught, and then belted right away was Kevin McLeod by Tony George. But it's a gain for Auburn out near the 33-yard line. They'll give him the 34, call it a gain of 6.
You know, if you're Auburn, you're 7 points behind in the game. You're into the 4th quarter. You've been unable to run the ball with any effectiveness. You're in minus yardage in terms of a rushing game. You've got to rely on Damian Craig. He's the man that got you to be 6-0. He, along with those wide receivers, Karsten Bailey, Tyrone Goodson, they're going to win the game for you or get you into overtime.
Really had only 2 good possessions today on the 2 scoring drives. Other than that, the offense has really struggled. Rusty Williams stayed on his feet and backpedaled his way to a 1st down. Johnny Rutledge and Tony George combining on the tackle. But Williams, who has averaged under 4 yards per carry for the season, has a 1st down to 40.
Rusty Williams does a lot of this on his own. He gets hit at the line of scrimmage, but he fights forward. He's going through that line. He gets nicked by his own player, but then he keeps his feet moving. He keeps churning away, gets his pads down, and falls forward. And when that's happening for your running back, it's going to turn out positive. Fall forward.
Williams in danger of losing that job to the freshman DeMontre Carter. Williams out to the 42 for a gain of 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8.
The Florida front 7 has been dominant today, Sean. They've harassed Damian Craig throughout the game. They've put him under pressure. They've taken away his rush lanes. They've not allowed him to do what he normally does, which is have time to throw or to hurt you with the scramble.
Under 9 minutes remaining now. 2nd down along 7 for an Auburn 1st down. Play clock at 1 as Craig accepted the snap. Trying to set up a screen, and it is met for a loss by Javon Curse. No chance for Fred Beasley. Curse has had a terrific game.
Auburn ran the screen play, and Javon Curse just had a great vision on the play. He just was able to see it. Damian Craig sucked in the defense well. He executed the screen to perfection, but Javon Curse just sensed it. He got out there and just made the play.
Loss on the play, back to the 39. Third down and 11. Under 8 minutes remaining. Florida leads by 7. Quick pop. Bailey tackled immediately. Terrific tackle by Mike Harris to stop Bailey well short of the 1st down, and it appears Auburn will punt again.
Again, you got to credit that Florida defense. Auburn has moved the ball a little bit in spurts, but they've not been able to do it consistently. But the next time Terry Bowden gets the ball, he's not going to be able to run some of those running plays he just ran. The clock's going to be the enemy. If he gets it without Florida scoring, he's going to have to let Damian Craig and those wideouts affect this game.
Jared Holmes to punt. They do not come after him that time. Short kick caught by Jacquez Green at the 21. He has some room in the middle of the field. And a good return out to the 37-yard line. 35-yard punt, 16-yard return. Florida with the ball and the lead in the 4th quarter.
NASDAQ College Football on CBS is sponsored by Plymouth. More fun, more car. That's Plymouth. the NASDAQ stock market. And by Honda, inventor of all-terrain vehicles. Honda, best on earth.
17-10, Florida with the lead more than midway through the fourth quarter. The Gators have the ball at their own 37. Tonight on CBS, America's Night of Television. Tune in for Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, Early Edition, and Walker, Texas Ranger. That's all tonight, right here on CBS. Noah Brandeis at quarterback for the Gators. Kareem in motion. Taylor takes the handoff as they fake the end around action. Jimmy Brumbaugh and Takeo Spikes, who seem to be in on every tackle, combined for that play after a short gain to the 39.
Well, this is a huge series now for the Auburn defense. They've got to make a stop here, get their offense back on the field with a chance to tie or win the game. They cannot let Florida get a drive and accumulate some first downs and run time off that clock.
Bo Carroll, ordinarily a tailback, split out wide to the left, and now he comes in motion. And again, they fake that handoff to the receiver in motion and give it to Taylor. And it's another short gain to the 42. Charles Dorsey made the tackle. Today's NASDAQ Scholar Athlete of the Game is Jeremy Zills of Auburn. NASDAQ's commitment to the investment in our future is shown today by donating $1,000 to Auburn's General Scholarship Fund. Jeremy, a 3.82 grade point average in forestry engineering. Third down and 6. Under 6 minutes remaining. Brandeis, lots of time, throws, deflected, and intercepted by Brad Ware. And now they roll an incomplete pass. Two officials ran in to spot the interception, but a third came running in and gestured that the ball hit the ground. It's an incomplete pass. The two officials along the sideline came running in, signaling interception, but a third overruled them.
Well, Auburn played a very conservative defense. They didn't want to give up a big play. The ball was tipped by number 25, Martavius Houston. And the question is, did he get his hands underneath the ball? It hit the ground. It's a great call by the officials.
Robbie Stevenson to punt. Auburn defense held Florida to 3 plays and punt as Florida got rather conservative on that series. Markeith Cooper dancing. And he goes down to the 24-yard line. 43 yards on the Stevenson punt and 5 yards on the return by Cooper. 17-10 Florida. 5.5 minutes remaining in Auburn. Running out for Terry Bowden's offense to get on track. When we spoke with the Auburn coach yesterday, he said, we're going to play it the way we usually do. Spread the field, throw the ball all over the place. Well, they're almost 50-50 today, run pass, a team that hasn't run the ball all year.
Yeah, it hasn't gone the way Terry thought it would, and I think you got to credit the Florida defense. The pressure has been really extreme.
Fumbled by Goodson after the catch, picked up by Fred Weary. And he is still on his feet. Weary inside the 10 and down to the 7-yard line. Mike Peterson knocked the ball free from Tyrone Goodson. A huge turnover by the Tigers with 5:16 remaining.
Great players come up big when the game is on the line. Mike Peterson, number 29. He's the Gator that strips the ball loose from Tyrone Goodson. Mike Peterson is one of those guys, doesn't get a lot of credit throughout the year, but what a strip there. Fred Weary, who's made a ton of big plays for the Gators, scoops it up, makes a courageous run with the recovery.
He almost took it the distance. They're at the 6-yard line, 1st and goal. Taylor Couldn't bounce outside. He's down just inside the 5. Well, yesterday when we spoke with Rodney Allison, the offensive coordinator for Auburn, he said, we just don't fumble here. It's a point of emphasis. Historically, we do not fumble. They've had 2 huge fumbles today.
Well, and again, I think you got to credit the defense. People work on stripping. Florida's defense has been opportunistic for 2 years now. Ever since Bob Stoops went to Florida, that Gator defense has turned scores for the offense and for the team. They've turned turnovers for them. They do a great job ripping the ball loose and stripping it.
2nd and goal from the 5. 4:35 remaining. This time they do hand it off, and it's Jaquez Green to the end zone. Touchdown!
Earlier in the day, Jaquez Green ran the reverse pass and threw it for a touchdown. Now he just runs the reverse. Every team's got some great players that make an average team great. And Florida is not an average team, but they have a lot of average players on it, but they got some guys like Jaquez Green that step everyone to a new level.
He's thrown a touchdown pass, he's caught a touchdown pass, and now he's run for a touchdown today. We keep mentioning his name as a Heisman Trophy candidate. That campaign doesn't seem to be picking up much steam, but every week he puts up big numbers.
Every week we've watched him play. Nobody can single cover him. He can run post corners. He does all that. Like you say, runs reverses, throws a reverse pass. The guy's a factor, and on every team you need a couple guys like that. A Fred Taylor, a Jaquez Green that get you off the hook.
Collins Cooper for the extra point out of the hold of Billy Young right down the middle. The big fumble sets up what might be the clinching touchdown. A 14-point lead for Florida, but still 4:27 remaining to be played here in Auburn. Jaquez Green surrounded by his teammates, and they call Quezzy. Well, that's a number that might remain intact today. Ordinarily they play shootouts, but when they hold the opponents to under 21, they win every time under Steve Spurrier. Auburn has managed just 10 points today. Markeith Cooper waiting for the kickoff from Robbie Stevenson. Cooper caught it on a hop at the 3, and he's down to the 23. So a lot of work to do for the Auburn offense. Tackle was made by Cedric Warren, a reserve cornerback, a freshman.
Sean, I don't think that this game has gone the way Terry Bowden anticipated. I think that he came in wanting to play to Damian Craig and his wide receivers, play to his strength. But I think the Florida pressure, the blitzes, the defensive line twist stunts, those things have taken them out of their rhythm, and it's created big sacks, minus yardage, and consequently, you just don't play the way you got to be 6-0. And you have to credit Florida. Their defense has been able to do that.
Out of the shotgun. Craig running out of time. Down he goes again. He gets up and throws, and they are calling it a sack. Thought it was a sack, and the whistle finally did blow from the referee after Sizemore. The 8th sack of the day. This one belongs to Willie Rogers, the senior from Miami.
Willie Rogers came on an inside move against Geno James, the big strong tackle. He comes right inside and uses an arm under move, just presses to the inside, but then his second effort is impressive. He didn't stay block. He stayed on the pursuit and got the sack.
Second down and 15. And down he goes again. Willie Rogers again.
Exactly the same move. He took it to the inside again on the pass rush. And once again, it was Geno James who got whipped.
Rogers is a senior from Miami. He's married. He and his wife Heidi have a 2-year-old daughter also named Heidi, and he's been under pressure all day, has Damian Craig. Sacked 9 times for 81 yards, and Auburn losses.
And that's what's taken Auburn out of their game plan, the way they told us that they wanted to play coming into the contest.
Well, the coach is singing the praise of the offensive line for Auburn coming into this game. They have struggled today. Now the play clock runs out. And you mentioned another key, as it always is when you play Florida, can the receivers get off the press coverage? And one would assume that they're not, because there have been times when Craig has been standing back there in the pocket for quite a while and seemingly has no place to throw it.
There's no question. The theory of the Florida offense is this: we're going to rush people, and we're going to try never to let your offensive lineman double team any of our players. We're going to rush enough guys at you that you have to single block, and then we're going to be good enough athletes in the secondary to run bump and run coverage on you, and you can't get off it in time to get a pass completed. With the Florida athletes, the reality is they're good enough to do it. It's hard to get off that coverage.
Bill Oliver, the defensive coordinator for Auburn, refers to the personnel for Florida, the athletes, as Rolls-Royce personnel. Craig deep in his own end zone on 3rd down and 30. Jump ball. It's intercepted by Tico Brown. He has a lot of running room to the near side and goes down inside the 10-yard line. Clifton Robinson made the tackle. Fourth interception of the season for the junior from Miami, Tico Brown. And this one is going to wind up in the win column for the Florida Gators.
People who watch football always hear that great teams have great defense. That's common knowledge among football fans. Tico Brown just sits in the middle of that package right there, goes high for the ball with his hands and pulls it out of the air. That's the way a center fielder, a free safety, is supposed to play, in the middle.
Peyton Manning told Damian Craig on the telephone earlier this week, another key to this game: you cannot turn it over. Tennessee has found that out through experience, and Damian Craig has learned that lesson again today.
And I think you really have to look at Florida. Here they are. They come into this stadium, 85,000 plus fans, very, very loud, hostile environment. They've sat down their starting quarterback for disciplinary reasons, and they beat Auburn with their 2nd and 3rd string quarterbacks. They did it with both of them. Both of those guys helped Florida to a victory. The young player, Jesse Palmer, had some problems through a couple interceptions, but did some good things as well. Spurrier makes the change, goes to the more experienced player, and all of a sudden he relies on his defense, and he gets himself a huge win.
5-yard walk-off for the delay of game against Florida. Back at the 13-yard line. And as you might expect, they keep it on the ground with Taylor. He cuts inside and was tackled by Ricky Neal. Taylor stayed in bounds. 14-point lead for Florida, and they have the ball inside the 10-yard line with 2 minutes to go. Damian Craig's reaction reaction after the interception. When we spoke with Steve Spurrier during the week, we asked him, well, if Jesse Palmer goes in or Brandeis plays well, does Doug Johnson definitely come back next week and start? He said, we don't have to answer that question right now. Definitely leaving the door open for one of these other two quarterbacks to take over as the starter, but I'm not sure either one of them did enough today to take Johnson's place. Would you agree?
Well, I think once Doug Johnson's returned to the squad, it's my opinion that he'll be the starting quarterback once again. You know, who knows? Steve's sending a message to his team. Hey, guys, Thursday night is a very critical night in our preparation. Coaches around the country look at Thursday night as one of the key nights. You don't want your players out doing anything wrong. It's unfortunate that the youngster made a mistake. But Steve made a stand, too. He said, hey, I want you in bed Thursday and Friday night. I want you committed to our cause, which is being rested, being fresh for the game. And it worked for him in this case.
Of course, Doug Johnson, playing professional baseball in the summer, reportedly did not report to football camp at the end of summer with Florida in the best of shape. And that upset Coach Spurrier. He doesn't forget things very easily. Taylor knocked down at the 5-yard line. Auburn does have a couple of timeouts. To this point, the Tigers have not decided to use one. Down by 14, they know the cause is hopeless.
You know, Sean, I think kids make mistakes, and I think all of us in coaching, we learn to bring them back into the fold. Steve Spurrier will get that quarterback back into the fold, get his team, after this win particularly, he sent a clear message. This worked out really perfectly in many, many ways for the Florida football team.
Well, one more snap, and that will likely do it. You see the game clock at 8, play clock at 4. Taylor stopped short of the goal line, and time expires. Steve Spurrier and the Florida Gators bounce back from that loss at LSU last Saturday night with a solid victory. It wasn't in true Florida fashion. The fun and gun was somewhat subdued on offense, but the defense was outstanding. And Noah Brandeis came off the bench to engineer a 97-yard touchdown drive that put Florida ahead to stay. Here's Michelle.
Well, Coach, you said you were going to change something in the second half. It started with your quarterback, but what else was so key?
Well, it was a defensive game. Obviously, their defense played super, ours played super. I guess each of us had one turnover, but it was a hard-fought game. If they make a play or two, it could have gone their way. We made one or two more plays. Really proud of our defensive team. Played sensationally.
What can you say about Jaquez Green, who threw for one, ran for one, and caught one?
Yeah, we weren't very good throwing today. We had to sort of change gears and not try to beat ourselves. We sort of halfway beat ourselves the last time we played, so we're trying not to do that, and played a little conservatively, and it worked out.
Coach, congratulations. Let's turn now to Jaquez Green. You threw for one, you caught one, you ran for one. How much had you prepared for that trick play you guys threw in the first quarter?
Well, we knew coming in, we didn't have our starting quarterback, so we had to change the offense up a little bit. You never know what Coach Spurrier is going to call, and he seems to call the right play at the right times, and it worked.
A lot of turmoil for you and your teammates. You guys certainly responded today. What does this win mean coming after that loss last week?
It was a big win because if we lost, we'll be out of the SEC race. And, we had to bounce back. We haven't lost this early in the season in a while, so just bounce back. Everybody overcame it now. We won the game today.
Jaquez, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Sean?
That's right, Michelle. As a result of the victory, Florida still in control of its own destiny in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference. Big win for the Gators. 24-10 the final as Auburn suffers its first loss. But it is still in control in the Western Division of the Southeastern Conference. Now for Michelle DeFoy and Terry Donahue, Sean McDonough saying so long from Auburn, Alabama. Stay tuned for the College Football Today post-game show coming up next on CBS Sports.
10 Auburn. The Tiger 36 from the right hash. Craig in some trouble, dropping back, and he'll be sacked, dropped down behind the line of scrimmage by Javon Curse, who came in there and made...
Auburn was talking all week about how they beat their opponents like in the second half, and we wouldn't even want to prove them wrong, and we did a good job of it.
Welcome to Florida Football Highlights with Steve Spurrier. Now, here are University of Florida coach Steve Spurrier and the voice of the Gators, Mick Hubert.
Hi again, everybody, and thank you for tuning us in. I'm Mick Hubert, along with head coach Steve Spurrier, welcoming you to Florida Football Highlights. Well, it was an affair of the heart on a place they call the loveliest little village of the plains as the Gators dug down deep and delivered, winning with a dominating defense. They ground out a 24-10 win over Auburn. Steve, congratulations on a very tough victory.
That's right, Mick. Someone was commenting after the game. We played sort of typically an old-fashioned SEC type of game. I think we threw it around 20 times and ran the ball about 40 times. Certainly Fred Taylor running 34 times, most he's ever carried as a Gator. But really the story was we didn't want to beat ourselves. You know, we went to LSU last week and tossed a couple of interceptions that may have turned the game. Our protection broke down, and we put our defense in a bad position. We've got an outstanding defensive team when we really, really are ready to play, which we were yesterday. And we put the game in our defensive team's hands pretty much. Noah Brindise, of course, came off the bench, engineered a nice little drive there and played very well for us. Jesse did some good things early, and he's going to be fine, but he struggled a little bit in his first game ever. But again, Mick, I don't know who first said attitude is everything. And we took the Gator attitude up to Auburn. We didn't have it the week before, and that's my fault. But maybe sometimes, I know Coach Wooden used to say, you need to lose occasionally to appreciate the victories. And when you lose one, all your problems sort of come to light, and you're able to make some corrections. So we're still in a very difficult situation. We must beat Georgia, South Carolina, and Vandy if we're to get to the SEC championship game. So we've knocked one hurdle down, Auburn, but we got 3 more to go.
So the Gators with a big win, 24-10, and we'll come right back and show you a lot of the exciting highlights from Jordan-Hare Stadium when we continue in just a moment. It was the second largest crowd in Jordan-Hare Stadium history, 85,244. The Gator defense set the tone early. Steve, you win the coin toss and defer, and the Gators stop them right away.
That's right, Mick. We had our blue pants on, and shoot, we said, hey, we deferred in the Sugar Bowl. Let's do it up here. Let's put Auburn with the ball first, if we can. If they win the toss and elect to defer, obviously we'd have had the ball. But anyway, we got excellent field position. Sometimes in a big, close game, tight game, everybody's a little fidgety early. And maybe it's best to let the other team have the ball early. Jesse came in and did a very nice job on the first drive, rolled out of the pocket, hit Fred Taylor. As you can see, one person usually doesn't tackle Fred. And here's Quezzy Green on a little reverse type play where he throws it. We had this in this week, and pretty safe play. If the guy's covered, he can throw it away or run with it, but he threw a nice strike in there to Jamie Richardson for our first touchdown.
As the Gators take the 7-0 lead, and a 4-play, 43-yard drive, and then they turn it over for some defense.
Right, here comes Javon Curse, and he had one of his best all-time games. I think he had 3 or 4 sacks and very active all over the field. And Johnny Xnitis comes in off the corner. Bobby Stoops had another tremendous game plan. I think we really look forward to playing these teams that want to throw it almost every play. It gives us a chance to really mix our coverages in and so forth. And here's Fred, another outstanding run. And we had to settle for a field goal. 3rd and 3, we tried to run for it and sort of missed a block, and Fred didn't make it. But 10-0 lead. We're in very good shape right here.
Let's watch Mike Peterson with a couple of fine plays.
As you can see, Damian Craig had to hold the ball many, many times, and that was because he didn't know where our defensive players were. We disguised some coverages, had defenders in the passing lanes, and he had to hold it, and that's what really gave us a chance to make all these sacks.
Gators had 9 sacks on the day as Peterson comes through with one of them there. Now the Gators will take over, 1st and 10 at the Auburn 42-yard line.
Mike Peterson had one of his best games also as a Gator. He forced the fumble late. We'll see in a minute. Here comes Jesse, and as you can see, he took his steps and threw it in there very nicely. Here's an ill-advised play. They were blitzing. We had a short guy, but Jesse threw it to the wrong one, and they get a pretty cheap interception there, and they end up scoring on this drive. This was a good play by their quarterback. He gets off a little bootleg. We got a guy right in his face, and here's that little tight end delay. They hit this against us, I think, in '94, but if we just tackle the guy right there, it wouldn't have been a touchdown. But anyway, it's a 10-7 game.
Auburn with 5 plays, 49 yards. The Gators come back. Here's a 3rd down and 3 play.
Right, we tried a little quarterback draw, and Jess just didn't quite make it. We were about 2 inches short, so we punt the ball. We, you know, we didn't play the smartest the last game in Baton Rouge, and our game plan was, hey, let's don't beat ourselves. You know, most games are lost, not won necessarily by the opponent, and we were going to try to not lose this game. If Auburn beats us, you know, we can live with that, but let's don't go up there and play giveaway the way we did in Baton Rouge. Javon Curse again, X-Nitis. I tell you, Johnny X-Nitis, what a competitor he is. And here's Jesse, not a bad throw. Threw it just a little too soon, a little too quickly. If he holds it just a moment and then makes that throw right there, it could have been a big touchdown to Kwesi Green.
But once again, the Gator defense stops him. Mike Moten comes up with a key sack.
Right, Mike's in there cleanly. Coach Broadway had Moten and McGrew and Derek Chambers and a bunch of guys rotating. It was one of those pass rush games almost every snap, and our players were a little tired, but not that much, and I really believe our conditioning kicked in and definitely helped us win the ball game.
Auburn had a little flurry there at the end of the first half.
Right, this was probably their best drive of the game. They hit a few balls here and there and got down to the 3-yard line. They had to settle for a field goal, and I think they hit this one. As you can see, we just didn't quite get in the middle there. But Keith Kelsey made an excellent play right prior to the field goal to sack Craig and force him to make the field goal right there.
11 plays, 81 yards. It was a tie game at the half, 10-10, but the Gators would dominate entirely in the second half.
Right, Jesse, as you can see, he's got pressure on him here, and we're trying to hit Jamie. Just not a good throw, but he had a lot of pressure on that throw right there. Protection was pretty good most of the day, Mick. I can't remember a game where we played without a sack, but we didn't have a sack yesterday. So the offensive line really played much, much better than the week prior. We didn't blow any assignments, and that's what's been hurting us, is one guy making a mental error. And I can assure you, Coach Jimmy Ray Stevens and myself and Coach Franks and Coach Holland, we did our best to coach pass protection last week, and we need to continue doing that. Here's Javon Curse forcing a fumble. I was hoping somebody'd be following Javon, but the ball scooted out of bounds, and Auburn retained possession. Here comes Noah Brandeis, 10-10. We're on our own 3-yard line. Good place to put a former walk-on quarterback, but I tell you what, Noah has got composure. We've got to get Jesse to sort of acquire Noah's personality of being poised and don't let anything bother you. And Jesse's going to be that way. But here's Fred Taylor on a big run to sort of get us out of the hole. And we got it up here in position. And Travis McGriff made 3 big grabs on this drive. But here's Nafis Kareem on a throw over the middle. Had good protection, had good time to throw it. And when those things happen, you have a chance. Now here's the throw to Travis. I think this was a 3rd and 8 or 10, something like that. And they were sort of blitzing our no-back set, but we were in the shotgun. We were hopefully ready for it, and we didn't have any sacks.
Here's another 3rd and 10.
Right. Again, Noah's sort of taking the proper steps and throwing it in the right area. This was a stroke of good fortune. As you can see there, number 31 was in position to make possible interception or knockdown, but he had his back to the ball. And you can see Kwesi went up and made the play right there for a touchdown. I think it's the first time in Gator history a player threw for a score, ran for one, and caught one also.
14-play, 97-yard drive to give the Gators the lead.
Right, and you can see the pressure on their quarterback. And you can see, well, he chunks this one deep. Their defender ran out of bounds. Eli's in excellent position. I tell you, it's one of the best called games we've had in a long time, too. Astor Sizemore and his crew do a super job. They let you play the game. I wish all those refs would just don't call a whole bunch on either team. Let the players decide who win it, and that's what that crew did yesterday.
Yeah, just 7 penalties total in the game.
Yep. Okay, here's a little under they hit. And I think a crucial 3rd and 2 is getting ready to come up here in a moment. As you can see, he has nowhere to throw the ball. He's hesitant, hesitant, hesitant. And we miss a sack there, and he ends up throwing it away. But he's a slippery quarterback. Here's the 3rd and 2. Tony George is in excellent position. Willie Rogers had an outstanding game, had a couple of sacks also, Mick.
8,000 Gator fans as we move to the 4th quarter, watching and enjoying it.
Right, here's a little screen that Javon Kerr said, no, you're not going to throw a screen out my way. Tackles him for no gain. And 3rd and 10, we let him throw the hitch. Mud Harris with a very good, sure tackle. And they're forced to punt again.
Here's a later Auburn series, but more good defense.
Well, this was the play that pretty much iced it for us. Mike Peterson made the hit. Fred Weary picks it up and does some excellent running to get us down right around the 6-yard line. And from there, we give the ball to Kwesi Green on a little flanker around play that you'll see him score here in a moment. But here's the hit by Mike Peterson. And Fred picks it up and scampers down to the 6-yard line.
Yeah, brought it back 25 yards, and the Gators are right there. 1st and goal is a big takeaway. Set the Gators up here for the next score. Kwesi Green.
All right, this was a play Jimmy Ray Stevens, our offensive line coach, thought had a good chance this week, and he suggested it right then. So sometimes they suggest ones that work and don't work. So they're either good plays or bad plays. That's the way football is. So here's, we'd had 2 sacks in a row, and Tico Brown gets an interception. I think this was our only interception of the game, but they didn't throw too many down in there to give us a chance. So this pretty much, this finished Auburn right there, that play.
So the Gators hold them to just a touchdown, just a field goal, nothing really in the second half, and minus 28 rushing, only 159 total yards.
Right, Mick, but it wasn't a terrible day for Auburn University. They're in excellent position to get to the SEC championship game. In fact, they can afford another loss and still get there because LSU lost yesterday, and most all the teams have at least 2 losses that Auburn has already beaten, including Ole Miss. So they're in pretty good shape to get there. We need to win the rest of our conference games if we want a shot at the SEC championship.
So the Gators come away with a hard-fought 24-10 win at Auburn. We'll continue with more Florida football highlights in just a moment. He was down but not out. After a devastating injury in the Fiesta Bowl, Kwesi Green returned as the comeback player of the year in '96. Now, Green is seen running for TDs, catching TDs, and throwing TDs. We're green with envy as we see in this edition of Inside Gator Football.
30, 20, 10, goodbye,
I probably the one person that always put a lot of confidence in me. And during the game, when I knew the ball was coming to me, he always like, relax, be calm. You can do it. He always told me that when I was young, like a redshirt freshman. And on Reed, he always, he bring out like the cocky side of me. They can't touch you, man. Do this, do that. I can look on every NFL roster and I can find a receiver my size. Probably, a lot of guys who put up big numbers in the NFL my size. I think I can make it for my size and with my speed.
He just has a knack for letting people bounce off of him, yet he, slithers away from them. He has a fight in his heart for a small guy. He's a competitor.
Compete, work hard. I always stay compete. Be aggressive, compete. Go get the football. I always, just want you to compete every play.
He has fun while we're out there. Some guys that are good want to slack off, just want to be to themselves. But Kwesi is a team type of guy.
And look at this. There's nobody in the middle here. It's one-on-one.
Streak from my favorite play, because just mainly just getting up on the defensive back and outrunning them to the football.
That is the current list of Florida's all-SEC wide receivers during the 1990s. The next name to add to that list will be junior Kwesi Green. For Inside Gator Football, I'm Steve Babbitt.
Kwesi Green! They were covering him like a rash, and he still got the ball for a score.
Quez Green, small, but coming up big for the Gators.
Right, Mick, and he's in a line of some of our all-time great receivers here at Florida. I didn't know Ernie Mills didn't make all-conference. I thought maybe he did back in 1990. But Quez, you know, like the piece you did there, he's a competitor, very aggressive, loves to play the game. And Ike Riedel, Willie Jackson, Jack Jackson, Chris Doring, all those guys, they love to play the game. That's what gives them a chance to be so successful. And the way they play and the way they practice. Quez is an excellent practice player, just like Ike and Riedel. They come to get better in practice every day. And that rubs off on the young receivers, Travis Taylor, Darrell Jackson, and those other young freshmen. If they can get the work habits that Quez and the other players before them have, then we'll be talking about Darrell Jackson, Travis Taylor, and hopefully some of those other receivers in the years to come.
Gators a winner, 24-10. We'll see some of the key replays of the game when we continue in just a moment. Fred Taylor rushing for a career-high 140 yards. The Gators grinding it out and got great defensive plays. We'll see them all in the key replays of the game.
Replays of the game segment is sponsored by First USA, featuring the all-new Gator Visa card. Apply today for your Gator Visa card by calling 1-800-FIRST-USA.
Standing and looking under some pressure, drops the football. It's a loose football, and it's down on the field. Let's see if the Gators have it as they got the pressure up inside, and there is a turnover, and the Gators have it as Reggie McGrew.
I was supposed to go outside of the end, but they ended up going up upfield, so I cut up under him. I just seen a quarterback just holding the ball, sitting right there, so I just hit him.
They hand it to Green. Now Green rolling right will throw into the end zone, and it's caught for a touchdown. Oh, my! Jamie Richardson running.
This was a play put in with Coach Spurs. You see the safety, they bite up, and then on a little quick swing reverse, and then I sneak behind him, and you see it was successful tonight when Quez threw it for a touchdown.
Brandeis to throw to McGriff, and he makes the catch on the left hash at the 17-yard line.
And the back linebacker started coming up a little bit. We were able to throw it over their heads a few times. And, you know, we just went down the field, and it was a good drive for us.
There's a snap and a short drop, and he looks to throw down toward the end zone. It's caught, and it is a touchdown. Oh, my. Quez Green hauls it in. A touchdown.
Noah made a good read, you know, considering the safety was playing the other side. And, he put the ball over the linebacker's head, and they just went and got the football.
There's the snap to Craig. He's under front side pressure. He'll be hit. He'll be dropped. Oh, my. Mike Peterson again came.
We knew going into the game, you know, Craig would like to scramble a lot. So, you know, we had to contain him in the pocket, you know, and the DBs had to stick with their receivers a little longer. So we just tried to do that the whole 60 minutes of the game.
Brandeis back to throw and fires. He's got McGriff, who makes the catch for a first down at the Auburn 30-yard line. Again.
We kind of spread them out, got in the 5 wide receiver set, and Jesse and Noah threw some great balls, and, you know, I was lucky enough to get in that open spot.
At their own 5-yard line, hand off to Taylor again. Taylor coming to the left side, has a first down. Good, strong running out across the 15 to the 16-yard line.
No, he came in. I had a feeling that Coach Spurrier wasn't going to let him just come in, just start running the ball all over the place because he wasn't a whole lot warm. So I took it on my shoulders. When I run the ball, just run as hard as I could.
24-10, the final again. Congratulations, Steve.
Well, thanks, Mick. And I was told Ernie Mills was on that tape. But, you know, it's going to be interesting today. Danny Warfel and Shane Matthews will be on the same field in New Orleans as Danny gets his first start. Hopefully they'll both play well, 2 of our all-time great quarterbacks here at Florida. But anyway, we've got a lot of football ahead of us now, Mick. And, you know, we hadn't forgot about Doug Johnson. Doug, I really believe he's going to come back a better person and a better player from what happened last week. So hopefully we can get some guys back and become a stronger team through the stretch run. We'll take this week off a little bit, take a couple of days off, try to correct a lot of mistakes and errors, get the young guys to play a little bit, and hopefully get ready for the stretch run starting with Georgia in Jacksonville a week from Saturday.
All right, so the Gators are off next Saturday, but we'll have Gator Hotline for you on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live at Buffalo's Cafe. And then on November 1st, the Gators and Georgia, the pregame show 2 hours before kickoff, and kickoff time not set at the time of our taping. So Florida, Georgia, Jacksonville on November 1st. That's our show for this time. We thank you for being with us. For Coach Steve Spurrier, I'm Mick Hubert. So long, everybody.